He's going to come and Mark and
I wonder what color they're going to paint 21 Broad Street.
Where's, oh, they've got a big thing. Yeah, did they have where's Terry?
What did it used to be? Was it white?
Which is not in our department anymore.
Okay, maybe she's stuck in Nantucket at Snowdrift.
I thought we were talking about the music, but Broad Street is what
I'm just trying to turn it on, because I know what to do once I get it on.
Oh, and that's been on?
Did you get a hold of Ann over there?
Which one?
That big oak right there, or the elm in front of the Brotherhood.
What happened to it?
Broad Street.
What happened to it?
Coming down
Why?
because it's been deemed to be too dangerous.
What is
The big one in front of the Brotherhood?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, boy. It's one of the last
tree?
ones left.
Yeah, I don't know why they don't just take off the offending limb, but I guess the whole tree is coming down.
who Dale told you that?
Well, according to what I read on Facebook, both Dale and Dave Shampoo looked at it, and tree committees looked at it.
I've got an interest in knowing a little bit more about what's happening on number 5 and 6 of the consent agenda.
Okay, so Nantucket and East Tristram.
6. Is anybody over at that building?
It's very light today.
Who's
People
out?
are up sick. Kay is out. Catherine is out.
Well, Catherine knows how to work this stupid thing.
It's Ann's coming over now with Lindsay. So
She didn't have to come over with him. She could just give him the file.
that's East Tristram.
Is she coming? Why does she have to come with him? He can,
Because we're not supposed to break the chain of ownership.
Correct.
they take it out of her face all the time. Hey, is Linnell in, or anybody knows how to work this little recording device? Catherine, I know, is out. We don't even know how to turn it on. We have to start this one. We can't without it. Thanks.
What do you got there?
I have Nantucket, and it appears to be a minor, it's some minor administration changes.
Which one do I have in front of me?
What they were going to entail.
I've got Swift Rock in front of me. Which one do you have? I have,
I'd like to,
which one is
I'd
this?
like to discuss this, which is Nantucket.
Can somebody figure out how to turn this stupid thing on that knows how to work these electronic stuff in here? Some guy.
He only get along.
I know how to turn, once I get it on, I know exactly what to do with it, because I've used it before, but I don't even know how to turn it on. What am I looking at? Oh, East Tristram's Avenue.
There.
How did you get it on?
There's a little button on the side.
No, that's not putting it on.
No,
See?
this down here is the is that the one next to it.
No, because normally when you do that, you turn that, and then when you start recording. So it's not on.
Well, the audio.
I can't turn this stupid little recorder on if you don't know how to turn it on, power on. This little teeny mini Sony jelly with the speakers at the top, the little dark gray one. I have the red button. I
So
pressed it.
2400 Nantucket Dave is
won't-
going back
thing
on the
won't come
regular
It won't stay
agenda.
on. It says it's on
If you
hold
put back,
and
yeah.
lock.
This is that south elevation is facing the street.
Facing the street, and I've got a concern about the French doors that we can discuss.
Hold on. All right, it's on. Okay, thanks. Yep, bye. Well, that wasn't so easy because it was the hold button that was holding us back on the back. So what is the problem?
I'm going to want to put that back on the...
What's that one? Is that the same one you
That
had?
is McEachern's. It's the 24 Nantucket, number 5,
Hold on,
Burns.
5, okay.
And I don't see anything bubbled on number 6, Steinberg.
Because it was all the windows.
It was all the windows?
Yeah.
And what was
I
it that
called
you
her
changed
about. I
from?
called her about this one. Hold on. There's previously up there. I think it was changed. I called her because I said, "What's going on?" She said the window size changed.
And then
She said she had to bubble the whole damn time. Yeah, I looked at it because I looked at the old one. For some reason, I pulled that out and had it in front of me. So there's nothing agreed to here. That's why I was like, okay, whatever.
Did you measure
I have no concerns about
how long
that.
the
All right, it's not,
porch is?
we're not talking about it.
Let's get it on the agenda first so we can
Okay.
talk about it.
All right, so we're going to open the meeting now. The tape is on, James.
Yes, okay.
Get back on the agenda.
Just go that way. The meeting is now coming to order at 1:12. Is the TV thing on?
Yep.
Okay. So we do have an audio and a visual recording of this meeting. If anybody else would like to record it, they need to let me know now. Present is Diane Coombs, David Barham, Abby Camp, and Linda Williams. This is all you're going to have for today, guys. Sorry about Tuesday's cancellation, but it would have been a disaster had everybody tried to come in at that point. So we have an agenda before us. I know David wants number 5 on consent to go to regular business.
One of yours, Matt?
Matt, going down to regular business. And I know on the new business going to view 11 Goldberg, no, it's not Goldberg, it's 12. 12 is going down to regular business. Under the 60-day denials, that will be crossed off, and that'll be old business. And Gingy Lane and 39 Tennessee are being added in there. They were duly posted on the one that was filed with the town clerk. Okay?
And they're being added
They're
to
being
the new
added.
business agenda?
Well, in where 60 days is, old business had been in there. Those are old business cases.
I have nothing applicable on yours.
No, you're adding them in there. They were in the posting, he's
Okay.
just not on the agenda.
In terms of the order that you're going to be taking the items, is that what you mean?
Yes.
All right, my motion is to approve the agenda with the amendments just listed by the chair.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any public comment? All righty, seeing none, we'll go right to consent. You want to approve everything but number 5?
So moved.
David's made a motion to approve everything under consent but number 5, which is Burns, 24 Nonantum Avenue, which was just put on regular business. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That was unanimous. Okay. So anybody with anything on the consent can go? And we are now consent with conditions, which were, one had a white garage door, which was natural to weather.
Could you describe what number 149A Pleasant Street?
That is Rubimbus's, and every time they kept putting in drawings with a half of it on this page, a half of it on that page, not quarter inch.
Oh, yes.
And then when they did submit it, they had a window that had a casing, another casing, another casing, another, like
So
the nesting dolls.
Do we now have a complete application?
We now have a
that is
complete
acceptable
application
according
with complete drawings, the way we
Okay.
approved it.
to- Thank you.
In fact, they took the slider out on the side. So that's why that's in there. And 3 Charter Street was a shed in the back, appropriately designed, looked like every other shed we've seen. 32 Somerset was option 2. They gave us 2 options. Option 2 was like negligible. Mazoret, there was a patio, I believe, wasn't it? A little patio built in the back or something. It was something in the back of the building.
Okay. And the condition was?
I'd have to look at them. I don't have that list with me.
Mazoret, are you asking?
Yeah, I
They
had
need to pay the as-built. fee?
as-built fee, that's what it was.
Okay.
And the Flavin, Sandy and Jerry, Hummock Pond Road, they're moving a barn, which we already gave permission to move off. It's like a garage. But it was flush with the front of the house, so I had them move it back 10 feet from the front of the house.
Motion to approve everything on Part 3 of the agenda, consent with conditions, numbers 1 through 5.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that was unanimous for the tape. Now we're going to the old business, Gingy Lane. Get us why you got 3 of us here, since it's been 6 months. David, it's you, me,
Yes.
and Diane.
Right.
Okay, the minutes for January 7th regarding East Indy Lane. Sitting board is William Farham Coombs. Previous concerns. Plans don't show how the grade will slope into lot 2. Plans show the grade going up 3 feet 9 inches from the driveway to the yard. Steps are missing. Retaining wall needs to turn the corner and follow the steps. At the back of the driveway, elevation is 30 feet with a 2-foot high contour line running across the rear corner. Need a cutaway of the contour showing the steps. We'd like a sample of the stone proposed for the retaining wall. The rear corner of the driveway to the porch is the problem. It's not clear how the changing grade is being handled. You see sections of the driveway and first flight of stairs looking back at the porch and second flight of stairs. Motion to hold for further information.
Thank you. Representing the applicant?
William Yost.
Okay.
As per David's request, I tried to, I did everything basically that was on the list. Hopefully, I cut a section in every direction.
David,
Yes.
can we get this out of
Based
here?
on-
He's waited like 6 months trying to get a quorum in here.
Working with the builder that represented me last time.
Diane?
Yeah.
Plus, I have the old surveyor's map that can go into file as well.
Here you go. That'll help.
Yeah.
Any comments, Diane?
On your C elevation, where you have the driveway coming up, you don't have any retaining wall or anything between the driveway and the grade going up to the house, right?
No.
Okay, that little strip of stuff that you don't have any polka dots on, that is,
That's the surface.
Correct.
That's the brick surface. He's showing it in profile, but obviously it's a lot thinner than that. It's embedded in the ground, but he's showing the surface of the brick
Right.
driveway.
This is labeled a section, but I think the way it's drawn implies that it's an elevation.
yeah.
I don't see anything cut in section. This is the detail elevation of the climbing driveway.
Correct.
This is the retaining wall coming around the back.
Right.
Down below, what's labeled east section, it's also a section elevation. I see the retaining wall following the driveway down.
Correct.
What's puzzling to me is on the left-hand side here, there's something that looks like
So a hedge.
a hedge,
Right.
but it's drawn in a way that implies that there's a retaining wall holding back this dirt. Is that in fact just an elevation of lawn?
Correct,
And the
correct.
hedge is climbing the lawn?
Exactly.
Okay. I think it's all right.
Any other comments, Diane?
No, it's,
Stop talking while you're ahead.
just one other thing,
David, that's your...
I thought we were
Do anything just show
Nope.
up correct?
Okay. Next one is 39 Tennessee. Diane? Here it comes. It's going, where 16A denials are, it's old business.
Left off this printed.
Do I get a little credit for schlepping across and getting the
Keep arranging these blizzards so that we can't observe field conditions, you know.
Yeah.
You guys didn't look at it?
Teasing.
All right, 39 Tennessee Avenue. Last heard on January 7th. The board was Williams, McLaughlin, Barham, Coombs, Camp, Leonardo, Finger.
So everybody plays?
Everybody plays. Previous concerns, MED discouraged the formality of the shell driveway in the older section of Nantucket. Would prefer and encourage a softer, less formal natural material. Entry stone should be natural, low-profile rock. Tight two picket fence and keep not in keeping with the historic Nantucket village. Consensus is that the proposal is much too formal for old Nantucket. Water features inappropriate, the entire thing is much too formal. Would rather the view completely incongruous to the neighborhood. The traffic circle and flagpole and ancillary parking is almost institutional. Once the view of the approved house and plans, this looks like it belongs in Cliff Road. Bluestone caps and the window wells completely inappropriate. Motion to view with the approval for the house and cottage.
Future reference, when you bring in your landscape plans, I don't want to see couches and tables and chairs. I just want to see the picture of the house. Because it makes it awfully fussy.
Sure.
Trying to figure out where the hell the walls are. I don't care about that kind of stuff. I see the toilet, I don't need it. Okay, so did you do anything from the last time?
Well, no,
Okay.
after the meeting, it was just, well, you guys wanted to go see it in relation to the house, and so we didn't make any changes.
Okay. David?
My main concern is this circular drive. And in particular, the whole northern portion of it. I have no objection to coming off Tennessee where he's asking to, or coming around the bottom of that seagrass flagpole thing and having a row of parking at that point. The serpentine approach allows some screening of the parking and allows you not to just have a view which is a straight shot up into a parking area. But I think the formality of allowing that full circle to be completed is not consistent with Nantucket. And I prefer to see some sort of serpentine approach, whether the one I suggest or one you devise, and some screening planting in front of the parking.
Anybody disagree with that? No. Okay. I'll just add one more thing. The wire on the property line, I'm not going there. As far as I'm concerned, it needs, whatever the surround is on the pool needs to be brought in tight to that pool and not running along the property line. Ensconce it, in Nantucket with privet. There's a lot of problems with privet in Old Nantucket. It doesn't belong there. It's never been there. It's, as you know, not indigenous. But it doesn't belong on this lot. That adds to the formality. Does not hide that pool from the south side at all.
Can I say something?
Yep.
K Street and that part of Washington Ave right there aren't like actual, they don't exist. So it's like, you know what I'm saying? So you can't really...
K won't exist.
K won't exist, and that part of Washington, you see, there's...
Oh, I know. But that doesn't mean it can't.
Right, but I've got, that's why on that side I have evergreen trees.
Yeah, I don't care. I don't want the wire on the property line. Because it's weird, because Washington actually stops, as you know, at K, and then it stops just before you get to this property, and it was like 100 feet of whatever.
Right, sure.
But
Yeah.
that doesn't mean it's going to stay whatever.
Okay.
And I don't know why it stayed whatever
Right.
so far.
Okay.
But because Washington continues straight on through both directions,
Yep.
except for right there.
Yep. Okay.
So my concern is the wire running along the perimeter, as opposed to, here's my little fence, here's my pool. And still planting around the perimeter, because they don't want anybody seeing them either.
Sure. Okay.
I want fire.
I don't like these fire pits.
got
They're
two of them.
raised up out of the ground.
Well, it's tucked in between the two buildings, so I mean, it's kind of hidden behind the cottage from the street side. So the only time you'd actually see it, I think, would be when you pull into the driveway and you're actually visiting the house. What they wanted to do.
Objections before we get to the end.
We only have one fire pit or two fire pits?
Two fire pits.
Where's the
Well,
second?
no, they've got the fireplace is an indoor-outdoor
Right,
fireplace.
that's a regular chimney.
Yeah, that's a chimney. It's just a chimney built into the house that they double
They got a double load on it.
Yeah,
inside
they
and
got,
outside.
yeah, exactly.
The fire pit is right there between the cottage.
Yeah, and we tucked it in there because the owner doesn't want people to see it from the street either. The idea is it kind of, because in her mind, she thinks that most people are going to be hanging out in the front of the house because that's where your views are, and most of your yard's in the front anyway. And so her idea, which I like, is, you know, have some entertainment in the front too, because that's a bulk of the properties in the front.
I got to tell you, these fire pits are becoming a real problem for me because they're not flush. They're irregular because they're usually round or something, and they're raised up out of the ground.
How high is it?
I mean, we could go 9 inches with it if you want. I mean, usually you want to be at least 9 inches out to get good ventilation because they're gas.
Right.
So I could do it at 9 inches, which would give it a low profile. And then I've got plantings going all around the patio because she doesn't want it to be a focal point. You know, it's not like the idea of the fire pit's not a focal point. It's more just for having a place to hang out in between the two buildings.
Here's the issue. If you get too cute with the screening of a fire pit, and you get too many trees, and I see there's a tree overhanging it, something's going to catch on fire.
Well, no, it's just
Which isn't really our purview, but
Right.
it doesn't make much sense, because we're going to want it screened, but if you screen it, it may cause an issue, because the prevailing wind is right at it, right straight
right,
across
but it's
the property.
gas. It's a gas fire pit, so it's not like a log with embers or anything. And the idea is to wrap it with like seagrasses, you know, and just kind of keep with that natural theme. Which is, I mean, we've got. I mean, if you saw the planting plan, like this is all rose rugosa and seagrass. This is all rose rugosa and seagrass. So we're keeping with kind of like they love Nantucket and they like the look of Nantucket, so they're not trying to like change that. They like the, you know, it's not like they're going Ultra Cliff Road fancy.
So
What about the blue stone caps on the windowsills?
on the window wells,
Wells, they shouldn't be capped with blue stone.
Okay.
no, too fancy.
And
I think we may have already done that, though. Is that part of your application, is the window wells?
Well, no, I think that
it
was,
was
I
on
drew
there from
it.
last week.
I drew it on there, but I think Steve had gotten approval for it already. I'll double check
Matt.
that. We can leave that off of.
You got approval for window wells on this house already, right?
Yes.
You didn't deal with the material on the window wells?
I think they're PT, right? Are they concrete?
They're concrete.
Well, you didn't, as far as I remember, there weren't any bluestone caps, so that's got to be part
So
of
it's
your application.
okay.
And I think you have them very organized steppers, bluestone steppers, going from the driveway
We can do those
to
regular.
open to the lawn, and then you've got another one going by the tree, wandering around, and ending up at the outdoor shower.
Yep.
The same material?
They should be the same material. They
Okay.
shouldn't be.
So we can go
one
all.
and-
Why don't we
this
just
is-
go all regular
Right,
stone?
you already have it on
Yep.
part of it.
Okay.
You just have to do all the walkways and then a regular bluestone that you're
Okay.
showing next to the cottage, the pad, whatever that is, garage.
Okay.
And there was,
Anything else, so we can get this off the
Well,
table?
I'm not quite sure where we've landed on the fire pit. Are we just flatly opposed?
Well, they've got to do some alterations to this plan, revisions to the plan anyway.
I mean, would it help you if I made, instead of having the, because right now the fire pit, it's just out of granite, slabs of granite, so it's not, you know, like antique granite, old granite.
So
And
it's
we
not-
were going to try and make it really rustic.
And if it's 9 inches, if the driveway changes, I don't think you're going to see it.
Well, you are, because what's going to change on the driveway is the upper portion, and you're going to turn in and you're going to be looking at that fire pit straight ahead.
But that's when you're in the driveway. But I mean, what I would do is I would serpentine
On the road,
it.
too.
Well, I'd serpentine the driveway kind of like this to block
Away
your
from
sight
it.
line, so that when you're going down Tennessee, you can't. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like if I have it,
Push it over there.
yeah, if I
and-
push it
and made
north.
And made it serpentine in. You're not going to be able to see it.
I think there's got to be convincing screening, and unless you're giving us unless we're making the maintenance of the planting along the road a condition
Mhm.
of the approval.
I mean, I can give you a planting plan. You want me to give you a planting plan as
Yeah.
well?
and I have one thing which is on the front of your presentation here that says you're going to have block entry stone with street address engraved on the front. I think that's inappropriate for Tennessee Avenue.
So I mean, all we were really going to do on that was like find a regular or
I know
like
what you were going to do, but that's But Tennessee Avenue in Old Town Nantucket, it really isn't the place, to me, for stones with 18 or whatever, just 39 Tennessee Avenue engraved on
There
it.
have been a couple that have turned up there that have not been permitted.
So how,
I've
what would we
painted
use?
I've painted on a piece of wood, which is more in keeping with Old Nantucket than engraved in stone.
Yeah. I think there's one about 4 doors up on the same side.
Yeah.
Big piece of rock.
But
Yeah.
bad taste
Never-
shouldn't be perpetrated.
Yeah, that was not.
New business. Win Grovius.
Okay, so that was everything we're doing for old business for today then, correct?
Is there, I don't think the other things are all quorum jobs.
Okay.
So we'll stick all that on for next Tuesday at the beginning.
Wouldn't the more force go on? Because I'm hold for view above or regular business.
Normally we put them on last, but it shouldn't be too long before we get to it. Race right after. Is that an actual name or something else?
No, it's an actual,
Huh,
it's a name.
okay.
What
Representing
did
the
you say,
applicant.
Winning Grovius?
Pearson.
SENDELBACH for the tape and another minute page.
18 Coffin Street.
And unless otherwise specified for the tape, all 4 members are going to be sitting on all of these.
It's an application to replace screen panels with 2x2 double hung windows to match existing, repair the wooden stoop, and a new wood entry door.
Okay, go for it.
This place is built in the early 90s and it has kind of a sun room on the front that's all combo panels, like for a storm door where you put the glass in the winter and the screen in the summer. And they've rotted out once and it's time to replace them again, and they prefer to replace it with windows.
Oh, I know what that is. I can figure it out for some.
Yeah.
I didn't put this on consent because I thought the windows were oversized for the little shed, at least on the north and south. That was the only reason. I know, I did talk to Leslie, who did review the files before she went away. There were only Leslie and Mickey were here, so they didn't have a meeting, but I had her review the files. I pulled the one and put it on automatic view that she had concern about. This was
You
not
have any
one.
pictures of the porch?
David's got it.
Oh. You,
I just thought these went.
49 Vestal Street, one of several applications. First one for a new dwelling, an attached arbor and pool fence, 69 feet in length, 48 in width, 2194 for the square footage on the first floor and 1544 on the second, a total of 3738. We have height of ridge wall final finish grade 28 feet. Difference between existing grade and proposed finish grade 5 feet on the north, 1 foot 4 inches on the south, 1 to 5 on the east, and 1 to 5 on the west. We have Anderson windows. Trim is Quaker gray, sash forest green, doors forest green, and Newport blue. Roof natural to weather. That's it for me, Madam Chair.
Is this the last one that can be built on there? Look?
Yes, this
Or the
is,
one next to it, or did we already did that one?
you guys you approved, and Mark Norris is built next door. So this is the last open lot in
This is
that
the
area.
rest of Rames's?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so, go for it.
New dwelling, tried to keep the massing and eave lines low, just, so that there weren't a lot of gables sticking out all over the place. This is an infill property, and I think it's as discreet as it can be for the size that it is, and hopefully you agree.
Okay. David?
Oh, one more thing. There is a section through the entire lot on one of these pages, I think.
Yep.
So you
Second
can
page,
just-
right in the middle.
So you can just sort of see how the whole thing lays out.
This is flat once you get below the hill.
Well, there's,
You see that?
so
All the buildings are on one level for the most part.
just like Morris's, we're doing some infill. This is the original grade right here. There's a big swale right there.
Okay.
And there's tons of dirt that's there
I saw
that came from Norris's.
Norris is on this one.
Onto this lot. We're going to use that dirt plus the till, plus the excavation from this project to,
Is it the same height as Norris's?
yes.
No higher.
No, it won't be any higher, that's for sure. But right now, if you go out there, you'll see that there's a dome from his property down into this lot. I mean, he's got his first one, which was at 53, and that has a big slope. It's like a 4 or 5 foot slope with some retaining. And then there's his new one, which is at 51, and then it slopes down into this yard. And this is actually the lowest point, because the one at 47 is also a little bit higher as well. So,
Any other logistical questions? Steve, are you ready to go?
Yeah. Portions of this, I think, are very attractive. There are a couple of things that give me pause, particularly as regards massing, and they're on the front. One is that this double dormer over the front door. The top of that shed dormer is higher than the ridge of the story-and-a-half element right next to it. And so we've got an element that you would expect to be subsidiary, dwarfing what you'd expect to be more prominent, which I think is odd. The other thing, there's some ways in which I'd almost prefer the house was flipped left or right, because you approach this down Vestal Street from town, and the projecting gable sort of largely blocks your view of the front door, which is at the back of a porch underneath that dormer, in shade, hard to see, viewed frontally, partially obscured by a garage. And so what ought to be the element that gets you into the house is sort of the most recessive, least emphasized element of the facade. If I look at the east elevation, which is around the right-hand side of the front, that story-and-a-half element feels very tall compared to the gable to its right and the shed dormer with the wraparound porch to its right, all of which I find quite handsome. And if we just follow around the house and look at the back of the house, which is the north elevation, I think that on the whole, it's an interesting composition, but I think it works quite well. The elements scale one to another appropriately, and they grow from low to high as you move back toward the main portion of the building. And I think that's worked quite well for me. I feel like I haven't seen it before, which is nice here, because we see a lot of the same thing. But I think it's successful. And on the west elevation, there again, everything except for that projecting front wing, I think composes very handsomely. And I think this thing's got a lot going for it. I'd like, in some respects, to send it back to the applicants to rethink the massing on the front and to see whether or not some of the things I've described can be strengthened and brought up to the level I think is achieved on the other three sides.
You're okay with 601s on this design look?
Yeah, I think it's appropriate to the period that's been adopted for the style of the house.
Abby, anything else?
No, I agree with David. I think there's something about, I like the design a lot, just that front gable coming. I think it should either the dormer on the left should be brought down to the top of that front gable coming forward. Somehow they should align or bring down, it's 28 feet, maybe bring it down to the, more towards the height of the gable coming front. It's 28, maybe.
I'm not sure if I can do that, but I definitely get the gist.
Diane, anything to add?
No, it looks like there are houses on both sides, so neither east nor west are visible.
Not terribly. I mean, you'd have to,
And set back behind the
and they're definitely set back.
And you've got the garage.
And, our intention.
I agree with what David has said, particularly about that front door, which is so loose until you get around the garage.
What are the trim colors? The roof?
The trim colors are Quaker gray, sash is forest green, doors are forest green and Newport blue, and roof is natural to weather.
My only concern, Brooke, and it's come up before, is that this structure runs setback to setback. And I think we pulled, I forget about Norris's, but I think we pulled Norris's in slightly, so it's not running setback to setback. Yeah, that would be my concern, but my only concern at that point would be the infill piece. If you're on the south elevation, David, the infill piece on the left. That's what's concerning me. Is it just sort of sticks out on that corner, this little, I'd rather that not be there, and then I don't have an issue with that at all. I do somewhat agree with the gable. My issue with the gable was that it's just sort of randomly placed in the middle of the front facade, as opposed to pushed over and actually being an L gable coming out, which would get it away from the front door. If you can flip it, great. If not, my only concern was making this a little bit more prominent in height.
Well, if I could slide that
And
over.
then slide it over to the right so it was part of the right-hand side wall.
I'll mess with the massing, but to hopefully bring it. But as we're talking here, I'm thinking, well, if I can slide it over, maybe the front door moves over as well.
It all becomes a little bit more.
Put the garage on the other side and the driveway to the left.
Here's the thing: coming down into that yard, we're picking the lowest point elevation-wise. At Norris's next door, he's got a big pressure-treated retaining wall there, and we just don't want to do that. We really want to roll into this yard, and so the garage is kind of on the part where the yard changes a little bit more, and the driveway is on the part where we're not going to have to put any more retaining wall.
What are you going to do between the Norris's and this property, when you got 30 feet and 26 and 28 and 24?
It's at the same height, Dan, until you get into his driveway.
Oh,
No.
here, you want to see the section through there. Go to the next page.
When you look at the section, you're actually standing in Norris's house.
Well, this is actually standing in at 47,
Yeah.
which is on the other side.
Yeah.
But you can see how right here, there's a steep drop. We're going to try and fill that in, create like more of a rolling entry.
Right,
And then
that would
here,
be good.
that green line represents what's existing, but we've
We're
got,
going to fill it, we'll
Yeah.
fill. But I was wondering, it seems that Norris's property is higher, if you go by his numbers.
well, it is. His number, his yard comes up like this,
Okay,
and then it goes up
you
like
won't
that.
need a wall or anything to separate.
That is definitely not our intention, not at all.
All right, so that's my concern. I think you can move that gable around somewhat, and then my concern is that board that hangs off the side. It's just
Right.
that corner. If that wasn't there, I'd be happy as a clam.
Okay.
So, I think everything else is working for you. We should take a look at the rest of the project so we can get it all done at one time. David's made a motion, right, David, to hold for revisions?
I have.
Okay, on the main house. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We'll look at the garage, or whatever's coming up, yeah, garage.
I'm hoping that the other buildings aren't as,
49 Vestal, application for a garage, 305 square feet in the first and second floor, 19 feet above final, height of original final finish grade. Details to match the house, which are quicker grade trim, forest green sash, Newport blue door, and natural weather roof.
Brooke?
small scale building, I don't know what else to say. I think it's kind of cute myself.
Keep in mind, it's how many feet below the Vestal?
It's probably about
8?
at
6?
least 6 feet below
Yeah,
Vestal.
so
I
if
mean,
this is what-
we're
this is
we're
where you
looking
start.
down on the top of these
Right on
buildings.
top, right below the windows is where you actually start seeing it.
Yeah.
David?
If the north elevation was facing the street, I'd have very little difficulty with this because it's got horizontal elements that drop it and make it feel as if it's talking to the house. But it's the south elevation that faces the street, and it's broken in three, and all three parts are quite vertical. The sides are extremely vertical. And so while the main entry element on the house is low and horizontal, this, which partially obscures it, is tall and vertical. And the building itself is not objectionable, but the combination of the two aren't working together. And depending on what's done to the front of the house, I think I might feel that this was close to being appropriate. But I think that they're part of the same composition. And I urge that they be thought of together and maybe a way found to introduce some more horizontality to what faces the street here, and if possible, with maybe over.
I just don't want it.
Or. The problem is the whole composition, not so much this. I think we need to think of them together and come back with a package that seems right for the street.
Okay. Anything to add, Abby?
No.
Diane?
Do you think that perhaps on the east elevation over the garage doors, that the window above is a little large? I don't see that you have all of them are threes up there. It's just in your picture of the whole thing together, it just seemed that that particular window stuck out as being large. Perhaps if you turn it, you want to turn it, right, David?
Well, I don't know that it's practical in terms of program.
Yeah.
But the other question is, if you look at that section, and there's some wicked drainage coming down right onto the side of that building. And so, maybe you address the height by doing 2 or 3 feet of retaining on that south side, so that the building is apparently less tall, and you use that as an opportunity to get some drainage in, so that you're not piling all the water right up against the building.
Well, I know he said he didn't want to do retaining wall, like, it's a very substantial retaining wall at Norris's next door, and this has very similar characteristics. He didn't want to do a retaining wall, I can appreciate that, but my comments are that it's only 19 feet tall. So it's not as vertical and huge as you think it is, because 6 feet of it is below the bank.
Yeah, but it's the vertical proportions.
My concern is that the same eave height all the way around, which makes it look tall, but I'm not in favor of necessarily putting a door on the front of that facing into the bank, a door you'd never use because you can't get to it from here.
Right.
So you're coming out of the house to go into the structure on the north side, but maybe there's something you can do with the south side elevation, and maybe it's not a projecting gable. Maybe the structure gets bigger on its own without the gables. You know what I'm saying? It gets to be a simple structure. And then the gables aren't there. Maybe you can lower it a little bit or put a dormer in or something else, as opposed to the high eave all the way around. But it is only 19 feet, and only 13 feet of it maybe is going to be above Vestal Street.
Well, and behind that window, there's actually a stair climbing, so there may be a way to pull that roof down over the top of that extended staircase.
Well, I will try. We are probably as close to our code limits as we can
Yes,
get.
they are.
In
Okay.
fact, I went down to 7 foot 4.5 inches for the garage
Okay.
Because you have a
plate
turn
in order
that
to
stair.
get
Yeah.
this building down. But I will look at it, and if there's a way to introduce some sort of horizontal element, even just maybe I can wrap the porch around
It'd make no
somehow,
sense. It would
or
make no sense to have a porch on that side.
yeah.
It's right banged up
Well,
against the
there is
bank.
there is a door that is next to the
Perpendicular.
garage door,
Right.
and maybe I can put a little
Put it on
hood
the
there
side.
and just wrap it, kind of bring it out and wrap it. So-
Okay.
But-
Yeah, we'll hold that for revisions.
David's
as
made a
well.
motion to hold the garage for revisions. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And let us know the other two really quickly.
Just to set the board.
Yeah. So it's going to be the pool and the shed.
.49 Vestal Street, an application for a pool, fence, and terrace, Pelatech Basin, sandy beach. Fence is 4 foot, chains and privets, cedar board facing Vestal.
What do you have for fence?
It's a mix. Basically, what we want to do is tie into Norris's fence. Well, obviously, we can't do exactly that, but we can run a fence very close to his. It'll be the buried wire in the privet, just like his is. Facing Vestal Street and facing Edgeberry Lane, we'll have cedar board fence, so it'll just be on the side property lines where there will be the hedge wire situation. And both properties, both Norris's to the east, to the west, and actually Murphy to the east, have chain link and privet, because there is a pool on both sides.
I'd like to see the fence brought up closer to the pool,
It's going to come in.
Well,
near where you have that 24 thing and going across here, but I don't think you need to go down to the end of the property.
Yep. Sure.
Control this side.
Sure. So bring it into the setback.
You got to bring it in.
But then we're going to have a big
Well, that's what I'm saying.
channel in between the two properties. So.
David, there is an issue, I think this is one of the first times you've seen it.
Yeah,
It's the Long Island effect,
yeah, no,
where you have fence next to fence,
got it.
and God forbid a bird got in between them. But this would be basically 2 privets, double-sided, with 2 wire fences in them side by side, which we have not seen before.
Can't we have,
So what has happened to some of them that are like this, we rarely see this in Hedgesbury, is probably the only place we're going to see it. is that we have made whoever's the last in the door pull it in tighter to the pool and not had a perimeter.
Well, let me
It's
ask you.
hard to do that, except on the rear.
On the rear property line, we would probably typically ask you to pull that in, but is there already a chain link fence on that rear property?
Yeah, Norris is,
No, only over here and over
To
here.
the north, I'm asking.
No, he's
about.
asking about here. There's nothing there right now.
there's nothing there except for on here.
On here there is, which is the neighbor to
The
the
property
west.
to the north, has this property been developed yet?
It's on its way. It's actually under construction. But
Yeah.
there's a chain link here,
Yeah,
and a chain link here, there's a chain link here, and a chain link here,
yeah,
and a chain link here. And this is,
okay.
And you can't put two chain wire fences next to each other.
But if we pull it in on the sides, then we've got a channel,
Right.
in between the.
And that looks even stranger.
Yeah, that's
Double hedgerow, which would look bizarre.
Yeah,
So my idea here would be to take a board fence, because there's still a lot of foliage back here. Take a board fence and connect it to the cabana, the shed, and run the board fence up here, right along your setback line, and run the board fence over here on the setback line,
We're
and
still
completely
gonna
stay away
But
from
we're still gonna wind up with
the
that.
wires.
well, the board fence is all fine, but what you're then doing is you're creating a pen at the back, a completely fenced pen at the back of the property, which
Or you get an
doesn't make
easement
a lot of sense.
with Norris and whoever, because having two wire fences right next to each other,
Why-
with 4 rows of privet, I've never seen that here, and I hope to never see it here.
Why can't
He's the last in the door,
one
that's the
person,
problem.
why can't there be one fence going down and Norris take, if it's his, he'll go to the left with his fence and this one hook up onto it and go in the other direction. Then you'll only have one fence in the middle with privet on both.
He doesn't
both
control
sides.
that fence. It's
I know he
entirely
doesn't
on
control it,
Norris's.
but he could ask if he could.
But we can't control that either. That's already been approved on his, we have no
Right.
jurisdiction the minute you go beyond the property line. And our jurisdiction, and for code purposes, he has to be in control of his own pool fence.
Fence, because otherwise all sorts of trash is going to gather in between the two. It's going to look awful.
The other most expensive option would be to run the board fence, around this whole entire perimeter.
I wouldn't be in
and-
favor.
And then
It's too
plant in
open.
front
It's-
of it.
That's why I was
Yeah.
saying,
But-
run it not on the property line, because we
But
don't
then,
want
but
it.
then we've got a channel right there.
What does he have, right? He's got a
That's,
same thing,
that's the
right?
chain link and privet,
He's got
chain
one
link
here.
and privet, yep.
well,
What did you guys
we're
think?
not going to making sure that this thing complies with code.
Or you
Yeah.
bring it in tight to the pool, and then it's not anywhere near a property line.
Is there any way to make the perimeter an irregular line instead of having a grid set out on this area?
It would still be a channel with some, what's even weirder, Yellow Brick Road going in between his chain link and his chain link. If there's a way to pull just what you need around the pool,
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? Just right here, and it's low, and it's natural to weather, there's so much vegetation coming around you. This, right here, David, would not create a trough. It'd be lower, a lot lower than their fence, because they got a high privet. He's a gardener.
Well, I'm wondering whether or not it's worth holding this to let you see if you can have a conversation with the neighbors that would let you guys cooperate in terms of satisfying code and not force the erection of a second fence. We here don't have to require that there be a second fence. He needs to meet code one way or the other.
Right.
And if he can meet code by coming to an agreement with the neighbors, that should satisfy us. And it would solve the problem of us having to come up with a fencing solution that puts two fences back to back and making it look good.
I can tell you right now, if he doesn't control his own safety pool fence, he can't pass code.
I will,
But you need to go ask that
I
question.
will make the proper
Motion to
inquiries
hold.
and
Motion to hold.
Motion to hold.
Otherwise I can change the full. David's made a motion to hold for revisions. All those in favor?
Aye.
The shed, I think, is in the front.
hopefully.
Shed,
The Pebble Tech sample is for the pool coping only.
That was for the basin, and then I think we're around the edge, well, yeah, and up over the side, but the coping's not going to be significant. We'll have like this spaced bluestone with grass coming up in between.
So the coping around the edge of the pool is also.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
49 Medical Street, application for a shed plus outdoor shower. Difference between existing grade and proposed finished grade of 6 feet.
Yes, look at the
Okay.
section.
15 feet, 4 inches, the height of ridge above final finished grade. And the details to match existing. Quaker grade trim, forest green sash, Newport blue doors, natural weather.
It's simpler than yours, as I can tell you. David?
You know, the beam height is 7 feet, and there's more roof than wall on it. I think it ought to be a little taller, that the wall
How
ought
about
to be
that?
a little bit higher on that. Take a look.
I don't care.
Yes. Look at how much roof, look at that.
It looks like a
Portion
little,
of roof to wall.
looks like a little tweak to me.
I don't know.
It all goes together.
I'll play with that.
I think it's fine. That's just
Look
me.
how low that is
You got a
compared to
big
that.
door opening behind those pillars?
Yes,
I don't know.
It faces the back of the house.
faces the back of the house.
Yeah.
Somebody want to make a motion to hold to track the house?
So move.
Oh, so,
All right, David's made a motion to hold it to track the house. All those in favor?
Thank you.
I didn't think you guys would get here. Cianaba. Glad I told you not to come.
Well, we haven't seen you guys in a while. We missed you, so.
Right. I think a drift is sitting on a lot out there now.
Okay, so the first question I have is that apparently the applicant was told that there would not be a fee, so we just need to clear that up.
We said he could reapply without charging him.
Okay.
Somebody want to make that motion to reaffirm that? David's made a motion to reaffirm that they're not charged an application fee for the cottage. The house is just for look-see. All those in favor? Anybody else? Diane? Abby? Waive the fee?
I don't know the
Yes.
history of that.
Yeah, we voted to do that the last time when they were
Okay.
here.
I
All right, Abby's abstained, and Diane, David, and Williams are voting in favor of waive the fee.
Okay,
That
so
satisfies that.
10 Plains Road, an application for revisions to elevations of a guest cottage, minor changes to elevations, and you do have a packet that I have just passed out that came from the applicant, and perhaps they'd like to take over at this point.
So this is the guest, we're not talking about the main house, just the guest house right
Well,
now, right at this point.
Do you have what you need on the main house?
I've got the main house in front of me. Is that what we're looking at?
Well, that's item 6 on the agenda.
Yeah.
Do you want to just quickly? I did bring out full-size. Mark Boyd had asked me to.
Well, it's actually 7, because the main house is 7. This is the house.
Oh, 7. Okay. The other way around.
Okay, so we asked you to make
You're
some
right.
changes, and it was all approved through staff. So I think we were just asking to validate that you did everything through staff. Is that clear? Everybody?
yes.
Somebody?
And Mark asked for fresh elevations just with bubbles and numbers keyed to the 15 things in the minutes. So the 15 things are on here, and there's a list that corresponds to that. So
Hopefully the
hopefully,
minutes were correct, because that's because you have, did we allow the
One on each
skylight on the front?
one on each side, yeah. There was one facing the front, one facing the back. True.
I think what you said, as long as they were on separate roof planes.
I think it was separate roof planes on the back side of the house. I don't remember it going to the front of the house.
Yeah. You know what?
I don't think it's supposed to be on the front,
Let me
because
just
we
take a
generally
look.
don't do that.
we have one on the east and on the west,
I think
right?
we were okay with one over there, one over there, you know what I'm saying, on the back side of the house, not on the front.
Maybe I misunderstood. We're certainly happy to change that.
That's not a problem.
That doesn't
Okay.
matter. We're fine with that. If that's the final.
We didn't care where they were
I have
back,
them
as long as they were on
like
the
them.
same.
Okay, maybe I misconstrued
Yeah.
that. So yeah, we're happy to do that.
Okay. Go
Right.
ahead.
So there's 3 copies of the large scale plus quarter inch with the 15 items. I also sent a list of the 15 items. And other than that one, I think we got everything exactly as we discussed it at the meeting.
James, did you get a chance to look at what they have done? Okay. I know Mark didn't. Okay. you want to go over them one at a time?
Sure. I guess we don't really need to look once.
And we left the turret topper,
Yes, what the change there was to turn it into a 6-light glass.
awning.
Yeah. So that was that. Well, starting with one,
Okay.
which is on the front gable and also the rear gable, it was reducing the size of the ribs
Yep.
and trim. So that was one. 2 was remove the trim over the plating windows on the east and west elevations. In other words, around the opening.
So it's just shingled.
That's right, just shingles, so that'll make that disappear. Those 2. 3 was remove the trim band that used to run across the front gable and also the rear gable. So it's just a field of shingles. We did that. 4, the side lights of the front door were to have vertical panes. We changed that. 5, the decks on the west elevation, south wing, were to be reduced in width by 3 or 4 feet. So if you look at the back, it's on that A300, the top sheet. It's to the right of the turret. That pulled those porches away from the edge, so they look more like something sitting on the face of the building rather than the whole width of the building. 6, the triple window was to be reduced to a French door and 2 separate windows,
And where are we, what elevation is that?
West.
and that's on the west, on the ground floor toward the left. We did that.
Here?
7, new window schedule showing terratone sashes and simulated divided lights. We had that new window schedule at the top of the
Okay.
10. 11 was old doors and windows, old doors and trim natural to the weather. And that's, I believe, in the schedule, but that's a color issue, and that's fine. We got that. Number 12, windows in the turret changed to 6/1. And that was in the
It's a smaller size,
body
it's
of it,
single
yeah.
window.
Right, in the body of it. And then, and clear glass in the top of the turret, the little lantern, to be 6-light. Okay. Next, 2 24 by 36 vertical skylights, one on the west elevation left of the main mast, and one center on the west elevation. Oh, there you go. Both on the west elevation. Hey?
All done.
Where was the other one on the west elevation? I have the one between,
Yeah.
just above 6.
Right, you have one on the left, and one was supposed to be in the main mast. On the left side of the main mast,
Kind of above that one,
that window.
one dormer.
Yep.
We're going to have 2 skylights on this elevation?
Yes.
Right, but the
Not
roofs
on the
are
same-
different
Not on the
planes.
same plane,
Okay.
that was the
They're
point.
in different planes, yeah.
So the one on the one that is currently showing on the east is coming off.
Yep.
Okay.
And then 3 fixed 4 lights in the gable attics per Exhibit A.
That's 15.
So
right?
those are the little attic windows that occurred at the gable ends.
Here.
Yep.
And you see them in a few different places. And that was it.
Okay. Did you split this up? Good job there. David,
I didn't sit when this was last approved, and
you were hanging out pretty close,
I was hanging out.
right there.
Yeah, but I wasn't sitting on it, so I think I'm not going to comment on this.
And all the dormers are back 3 feet.
The dormers are back 3 feet, yeah.
Diane, do you have anything else?
No, you changed the top of the chimneys, right?
We
Yep.
made the change to the top, yes.
They're simple, and they're brick now.
And 9, what did you do for 9?
Top of the chimney would be flush course. Oh, I missed a line there. French doors all to be 15 light.
Okay,
So we went through, they're all the same doors, they're all 15 light now.
all right.
There were a couple of other oddballs before.
Yeah, they were all different sizes.
One thing I noticed on the chimney tops is that you've gone to a soldier course around the top of the chimney, and that's something I think I've never seen on the island.
Yeah.
So if you can bump out but continue with
Flat.
your
Flatter sort.
regular coursing, that would be more appropriate.
Yeah.
So you want to describe that for the minutes?
They're stepping in, they're stepping out.
Yeah, soldier coursing at the top of the chimneys to be replaced by regular
Running bones.
horizontal coursing of the brick.
Yeah. That's
Horizontal
fine.
coursing of the brick?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody see anything else? Okay. Well, then somebody can accept the drawings.
I move to accept the drawings as presented.
Nope, with two changes.
With,
With a skylight on the front removed,
right,
second skylight added to the main mass on the west.
west.
And the soldier course on the chimneys to be removed and replaced by
Horizontal
horizontal
Running
course.
bonds.
Running bonds.
running bond.
That's what I was looking for.
Yeah. That's what we're looking for.
You remember that?
Is there anything else?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure, but what happens at the top of the chimney now? Is it just going to be square, or is it?
Running
is it
straight up.
Is it going to
Just
taper in?
brick
or-
courses,
No,
yeah.
the profile will be, the profile is shown, but the bricks are going to be ordinary horizontal running
Right,
bonds.
just squared off at the top, no staggering.
No.
Three complete sets of those two changes on it,
Right.
because you have to be able to stamp them, give them back. All
Gotcha.
right, David, is that your motion?
That was
Oh, it was Diane's motion. Okay, with the new
I'll
drawings.
abstain. I just-
Okay, hold on. With new drawings submitted through staff. Okay, so you'll have 3 full sets. All those in favor of Diane's motion?
Aye.
All right, Diane. David, you're going to have to vote.
Now you've got a quorum, I'm going to abstain, and I think you're going to have a majority in favor.
She's abstaining.
I just have, I just.
You'll have two.
You'll
We
have
don't
2
have-
votes in favor.
We do not have 2 votes in favor. If there are 2 abstentions, we don't have a majority.
Are you
That's
voting?
recusing, yes. But I have to wait for everybody else
I
to.
have a question on the top of the chimney. I'd rather see something like a classical finishing where it staggers in, not just a square, modern looking, you've seen what.
Well, then the motion has to change.
And just one other thing on the turret with the windows, with the glazing. Are the windows separated by 2x4s, or what is, I only have this small.
There's a shingle course on the corners.
They're singles on the chart, yeah, they're singles.
If they're here, and then there's a shingle course, and then they're here. and
The
then there's a
shingles
shingle course
turning
on
the corner,
on the
yeah.
edges, where you turn the corner.
They're set in.
Cut the corners. The shingles are off the corner. So it's the shingle. Oh, up in the
What
cupola.
is dividing the lights there? What, is that
There's
It looks
bigger
like-
ones here.
trim?
Flat facing corner.
And that's, I think there should be more wood in between. Can you take a look at that? Because it doesn't
It
show.
looks like they're ganged without any structure supporting the roof above, I guess is the question. We're showing basically a 2-inch sash.
Oh, just up at the lantern?
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
Oh, I see.
Where
Yeah.
the 2 windows make a
I'm
hexagon.
just wondering whether or not it can actually be,
Octagon.
what we're approving can actually be built.
Because otherwise it looks like it's sitting on the frames of the glass.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, any framing would be sort of set inside. I mean, we could add, say, a 2-inch strip in between, so you would read the framing.
Read as framing in between the.
Yeah.
In
the glazing.
between, yes, you're
Yeah.
right, yeah.
Between the windows?
Yeah, we can make that a condition, that'll be fine.
Okay, is that part of your motion, Diane?
Yes.
Okay. So I need 3 in favor. I can't have 2 abstentions and 2 in favor. It
I'm
doesn't-
in favor
Okay.
if I can just know that the chimney isn't going to be a square, modern.
How do you want to
looking.
describe that, David, what she's asking for?
Corbelled out at the top?
Yes.
What you often see on around is actually
Is
corbelled
this.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah, corbelled in.
It'll corbel in.
Out and then in?
No, just
It
in.
goes up and then
Just
Oh,
simple.
okay.
it goes in.
It's like stacked.
So,
Six
you know,
bricks
It
and
looks
corbelled
almost
in.
round.
Yeah.
Stacked.
Yeah,
It's
That's
a
fine.
classic
How do you want to describe that? Corbelled?
corbel.
No.
corbelled, yeah.
Yes, it's stepped
C-O-R-B-E-L.
Corbel to slew.
D-E-L.
Yeah, corbelled to the top.
Maybe the top 4 or 5 courses, something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, you want,
Because these are fairly sizable chimneys, so you
Yeah.
can support that. All right, so then the motion would be for the tape. Diane's motion would be the skylight on the west elevation is removed and put on the east No,
Other way around.
Other way
Yeah.
around.
Off the east,
off
that's the
the
west.
east and going on the main mass on the west.
Chimney.
The chimney will have a corbelled top, and there'll be a 2-inch strip between the windows in the very top of the turret,
You know, calling it the lantern.
the lantern, minimum of 2 inches.
Yeah. There'll probably be 2 on the side.
On each face.
We'll probably
On
take
each
a,
face.
like a 4x4 and,
It'll be a
Fine.
smaller, it'll be a smaller window.
But-
Yes.
slightly, yeah.
Yeah, the
agree.
window will be smaller because they have to get the framing in, okay? All right. All those in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining?
Yeah.
All right, David abstained, and there are 3 in favor, Diane Coombs, Linda Williams, Abby Camp. And that's to accept these drawings, new drawings through staff.
And no need for us to come back with the commission to look at it.
Not that one. No. So now we're going on to the cottage, which is new.
Did you keep
Same
that?
drawings,
It's a
right?
large set. No, we've got a
The
different.
back, because I've got cottage at the back of this.
Okay. We've got a separate one here.
At least I've got 3 elements for the front elevation.
Well, actually, we have a whole file.
Okay, so let's send them back.
Do you have them, James?
Keep the
That's
files
what I'm
together.
passing out now.
All the drawings on the cottage, the elevations,
For just the cottage.
for just the cottage?
Yes. That's what they should be looking at right now.
Yeah. This is now we're going backwards to number 6, which is the cottage.
Now, this is a new application for a revision to a design that has approval via the constructive grants. You all remember that from last summer.
The guy.
So the way this sits at the moment is there's an approval in the file for it looking the way it was originally submitted. Just like with the other project, the other house, we said we agreed to come back and work with the commission to make changes so that the commission could feel supportive of it. And, we would work to do that so that we liked it too. And I think we found that, or we're getting closer anyway. We have been out here once with it. I've gone back and forth a couple of times with Linda and with Mark. And this represents a number of, all of the comments that were originally made to us about the first iteration of this, such as from the side view, the shape of that gambrel is now the exact same shape as the main house. It was more spread out before.
Is this narrower than what I saw it the last time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the same exact angles as the main house, where it wasn't before. It was more splayed out. Went through and unified all the windows so that they're the same 6/1 almost everywhere. We've got a couple of the 2/2s, but pretty much it's straightforward. The portion on the back, we modified that after some discussion so that it came a little higher up on the building and had a little more slope to it. The front, we simplified a great deal from the first and second iterations, but what you see in that 8.5 by 11 that I sent out, where there was an A, B, and a C, we have been discussing whether or not we should take all of the sort of dressing up of the front door off of it, such as the transom and the side lights. And I did do a drawing of that, and that's letter C. And it's very plain.
Where's that in here?
I don't is that where that is?
You
Maybe
put it in the
yeah,
packet?
It should be in the
Yeah.
packet.
Yep.
Yeah. And
Except that I have exactly the same drawing.
A and B are very
Is
similar.
this something else that I'm getting here?
No, it's what you,
A, B,
That's
and
what I'm
which,
looking for.
A and B are similar except in the side
the
lights.
side lights is going to say.
The side lights are a little different, yeah.
I don't like C.
And then C is just plain. C is if you take everything off. And what I wanted to,
Hold on, I still don't, you keep going.
Can you get there?
I don't have any, so,
is that maybe get C?
C,
Put it there.
no, that's exactly what that is.
Here, you can take this one. This is A.
C, A and B.
That's exactly the same.
It is B. That's different side lights than
That's
C.
C.
That's C.
is C got a recessed front door,
No, it's just without any side lights.
It's just without skylights.
but these two things coming down on either side of all of them,
Oh, he's in here.
which,
Those are the same, yeah.
Yeah.
where is that showing up on the drawings?
How recessed is the door?
30 inches.
30 inches. So Diane, if you go to the south elevation,
Yeah.
it's flush with the main body of the house.
Correct.
The projection is forward. Do you see it up on the right,
It's a
you
gable
see how,
projecting, yeah.
on the right side of the right-hand, top right, you see how it's pushed forward?
Yeah,
Go, Sean.
Right.
The door is actually flush with the main body of the house.
and these are
That's pushed
projecting out.
forward.
Yes, that's it, you got it. Now, I sent along a site plan from the GIS, sort of an area plan, to just tell you the way I see this is, this house, even though it's the guest cottage to the other house, it's further from the main house than it is from the neighbors. It's closer to the neighbors' houses. It's also set right on the street. So when you drive down to the end of Sheep Pond there, where it goes around, you'll pass this like it's just another house on the street. It's also the same scale as those other first couple of houses. The first floor footprint's like 1,000 square feet, which like the other two are. So also because of the fact that Edmund has two lots there, one closer to the water and one further away, he could sell this separately at some point if he ever felt the need to. So it really could be, hopefully not, but it could be a standalone house. So in some cases, you might have a guest house, which is sort of in the back 40 of the main house, and you don't really see it. But that's not the case with this. This is an independent house right up by the street. From the other side, from the private side, everything will be tied together with landscaping and with paths and things, and it will feel like one complex. But from the street side, I think they're going to read very separately. So to me, that was a rationale to dress up the front at least just a little bit. And that was the one thing where I went back after the things that we talked about. So we'll have about this. So
I think the B, I like the side light window pane shapes better
Yeah.
than A.
And did you see C where they took them out completely?
Yeah, I don't like that.
The top one's got to go.
Is
Is there anything else about it?
the other thing that I sent out was, these are, 12 houses immediately in the neighborhood, right there at the end of Sheep Pond. Every one of them has a round top window. So in terms of being consistent with the neighborhood, I know,
But the secondary dwelling, that's just one secondary dwelling, that's all. There aren't too many secondary dwellings out there.
You realize
But
we
it's-
repented of that design.
Yeah, so don't bother. It's not gonna
all I'm
happen.
saying is it's not going to
We agree.
ruin the neighborhood.
Side lights, I don't care. The top one, no.
But
David,
that's my pitch anyway.
okay. Good job.
Is this the first, you've got a constructive grant on this, but this is the first time that we're really discussing it since
They
then?
agreed to come back with it
Okay,
as a new application.
okay. And I haven't done a site plan here, so the front, I'm assuming, is the east.
The
Yes.
one that
Yes.
faces the road is the east.
Yes.
Right.
The west faces the pond.
Okay.
Right, the one with the door with the side lights is the east, and
Okay.
it faces the street.
I mean, I find the west elevation quite successful. I find the east elevation very much less so. And some of it, I think,
What about the north and south?
well, what's remarkable about the north and south is how deep the house is. It's very unusual for us to see. I mean, the proportions are very squat for a gambrel. The gambrel, either as a late shingle style house or as a derivative of a barn, typically they were narrower. Yeah.
Those are classic gambrel proportions. The angles are, I think, 35 and 60.
Normally, we see the bend up here farther. I think that's one of the things that's causing me
Well,
an issue with this.
the break in the roof plane is exactly where the framing is for the ceiling of the second floor, and that is really where it should be.
But it's unusual here, because see how your gables on the east and the west are longer and narrower at the top?
Mhm.
That's the typical gambrel we have here, which is why having the top piece longer than the angled piece down to your eave, it's backwards. That's what I was trying to explain to you before, was it's backwards. Normally, this is a longer piece and this is a shorter piece.
The only thing
Like
we could
this and
do
this.
to change, what we could splay back slightly the first plane and then lower the second plane.
What does that mean, make it flat?
Like,
No,
well,
there's a minimum pitch on this too.
right, I'm saying, tilt this back a little bit, and that'll bring this in narrower, which will bring it lower. So we can do that a little bit.
Yeah, does that work for you, some of it, David? It's exactly what I'm talking about.
I'm being handed things from a couple directions here.
I think that might help.
So the other thing we can do is just extend the framing up above the floor line, or make the ceiling higher.
Oh, no, don't do that. It's already too tall for a second.
Well, this is only 8, but I wouldn't make it taller, it would just change the point where this happens.
Be careful
Even
already.
if I turn on the lights, it's getting a little dark.
Yeah,
No, that's not the problem.
it's 26 feet, and normally secondary dwellings are only 22 feet by policy, religiously.
That's too high.
If there's a garage, then it's 24 feet, but we never approve secondary dwellings at 26 feet, ever.
I have this one at
So that's why
24.
you gotta sort of deal with this. I've got 26 here.
It's 24.
Okay, this measured at 26.
I have east elevation at 24.
Yeah, it says 24.6 from top of subfloor, first floor to ridge.
I've got 27 to grade.
Well, yeah, we
Just so
measured
you know.
grade, yeah. And grades
Because we
vary.
measure, we have to measure, you got to top of floor.
Yeah.
We measure to grade, and that's where the building department measures for zoning.
Right.
You have that 4 foot out there.
Well, average of grades around, not the worst case.
So, you know, I'm not, because given the size of the house, I'm,
You
26
said
feet
this
is
is
an
the
issue
same
for me.
shape as
The one that was approved, yeah.
in the main house?
The gable end is the same angles, yeah.
Doesn't it do this more, though?
I mean, we have it here, we could take a look.
It's the proportions that are,
Yeah. that's
all
what I'm trying to-
skewed.
trying to.
I mean, there's something in it, I'm not trying to be
I don't mind,
snarky.
you know,
There's
I don't
something
mind
that feels
fine-tuning
slightly
it,
like it was
but-
done from a double wide. It's just sort of so
It's broad.
squat, so broad from the sides.
David, does this help, reversing the longer wall, shorter wall, like it's supposed to?
It helps some. It helps some.
You want me to just
Um,
try to retune that, as, you know, among whatever else you say? And I hear what you're saying.
I mean,
We
I
can
wonder
do
if
something.
if there's a, have you got these bedrooms double loaded up top? Is that what's happening that's making this so?
When you go upstairs, there's bedroom left, bedroom right, and a bathroom straight back, and a little balcony in the front.
There's only 2 bedrooms.
2 upstairs, 2 down.
One left, one right. So they're very deep bedrooms in that case because
Yeah, they are.
30 feet.
On that north elevation of the main house?
Well, with sloping roofs.
Yeah, but still,
But you got pretty
even
enormous-
saying that, you're at 24 feet long on the bedroom, which is good. I mean, it's more than enough. I mean, I wonder, I have seen, this treatment of the porch looks very successful. I'd be inclined to bring the columns right out to the edge. Given the overall length of the building, these dormers seem a bit large and like they're crowding this. In some way, we've got a huge site here, right? I think the building would be more successful if the building were longer and narrower, so that you got the same size bedrooms, you just reproportioned them. And if you've got a longer frontage here, the extra roof helps support the double windows without them feeling too large on the roof. And so that would be a 2 birds with 1 stone for me.
So just elongate it or something?
Yeah, make it,
Well, yeah, like
stretch
say-
it out, but make it narrower front
Turn
to
some of
back.
the plan element 90 degrees, in other words, basically.
And frankly,
Not too much
You-
longer,
you
David.
know, you've
It's
got-
37 feet now.
so go to 42, but narrow, narrow
that in,
narrow
yeah.
these up. And frankly, on the ground floor in this middle in a building that deep, it's going to be dark as all get out. So one benefit of elongating the building is you're going to get better light inside, particularly at the first floor. And I think that that'll solve all kinds of things.
And I'm certainly happy to do that. The one thing I would like to focus on, too, before we go, is that front entrance treatment. It's a little different than what you normally see. There's things to me that recall the main house entrance, which I'd like to hang on to. That's about the one place where there's, again, like an architectural element that I care about and I'd like to hang on to.
Clearly, your side lights have to mimic the one on the main house.
That's why I think
Yeah,
B.
we have B.
But I'm not going to approve that, the circular thing over the door, the transom over the door.
All right, well,
But the side lights?
Would you do one of the half rounds over the
No,
door?
I do nothing like that over the door. We don't, not everything on Nantucket is carried off of a very stylized main house to the little guys. They're a little bit more, not just a miniature copy, but a little more subdued. And then that would be a really atypical. I don't mind the round arch because that is on the main house.
yeah.
But the transom for me is a no-go.
You know, I think that a couple of years back, we approved one or two of these out in Monomoy. And what was, I think, true of those was that we approved something where this arch was a half round, and the window was in the same wall as the door, but above it. So you brought light into the hallway
That's what
behind
they
it.
have on the main
Main
house.
That is what we
Yeah,
have in the
Exactly
house,
what they have
yeah.
on the main house.
Right.
But this is
But
not
they've got the
working.
huge half round there. You know, this would, you know, take in a smaller window of some size. In here, I mean, what's curious to me about this is this feels very top heavy. This feels horizontal in something that otherwise is quite vertical. And the heaviness of the trim
Yeah, right here.
is not characteristic at all of what you see on the island. You would typically see the wall coming right up and a rather minimal treatment of the eave, both sides.
So,
And the bump out, which is only 24 inches, you know, additive massing on the island was typically an increment that was a bit more.
greater than,
So, you know, it would be
Push it out even
more common to
more.
see 42 inches than 24 inches.
Yeah, I mean, that gets you out of the rain too, so, you know.
I think,
all right, so
Can
let's
I-
move on.
can I say, I think the shape of your north elevation would be good for your north elevation in the cottage. It's brought in more. The broader one, which is this one,
Okay, yeah.
is heavier, so perhaps you could reach that without raising the height of the,
Yeah, whatever you do, don't go any higher.
Yeah, no, yeah. I'll look into that, definitely.
All right, David, you made a motion to hold for
I
revisions?
did, in fact.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh. When, how quickly can you get this done?
Soon.
Because you won't make it for next week then.
Yeah. You mean Tuesday?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
I-
You want to make a motion to take this whenever it comes in, even if it's new business, rather than make them wait 3 weeks?
You can do
Yeah.
that, that helps, yeah.
Okay.
Say
So
that
if we
again
get it
now?
in next week by
Yeah.
Wednesday,
Yeah.
at noon, James, is that where we are still?
But, yeah.
Well,
Wednesday,
they
next
accept-
Wednesday at noon.
they
We will
accept-
go ahead and put it on for the new business one, which is the following week, as opposed to making you wait 3 weeks to come back.
Great.
Okay?
Okay. All right. Good.
All in favor of David's motion to allow it to come back on the next possible meeting?
Aye.
All right?
Okay.
Thank you. You too.
Okay, so that was revisions, and to put it on whenever it gets in time for the agenda change.
yes.
Okay, Kidder Creek Boatyard.
Photos.
Staffing. Staffing.
20 North Cambridge Street, Kidder Creek Boatyard, an application for garage, 26 feet, 9 inches, plus or minus. Windows and mounting windows, aluminum leaders, metal and glass garage doors, side doors, trim, natural leather, sash white, roof gray to match existing, doors white.
This is going exactly where the concrete pad is now, isn't it?
That now with the big blue
Big part.
party tent.
Yeah, party tent. So they're enclosing what they have already going.
And then the other part of this, any overspray is now going to be all carbon storm drains, and all that water will be recycled.
Instead of getting on the paper,
Yeah, well,
This
yeah,
has
right
happened
down
to
the other
me.
boats
Thank
or in
you.
the harbor, the wetlands.
wind blew,
Yep,
all over.
yep. Fun stuff.
Anybody have any questions about this?
Yes. It's the great big parched concrete walls. Why do they have to be parched concrete?
Because the boats this spring have the salt water,
gas.
there's oil, gas, there's the cleaning products, and so right now, all of this is overspray, is just spraying into the wetlands, and we're worried about contamination, and the pad that is there now around the drains, as you can see from the floor plans, the fine aggregate is gone. So what you can see is the coarse aggregate
So
just
we're
exposed.
going to take the boat inside the building and spray it.
Spray it.
So why does the outside of the building, even around the back, have to be parched concrete?
Because we were worried about just the construction where we are right on the water. You know, we also have to meet the floodplain, and this is one way that we just don't have to worry about any breakaway doors, all that fun stuff.
You're building this within a couple of feet of the existing buildings.
Correct.
Those buildings are shingled.
Yeah.
Why
This
are
is-
you not applying to make them parched concrete?
Because this fire separation helps us by doing this all out of concrete.
But you could apply the shingles over a masonry construction.
I still have that same separation issue. This is why we've gone to concrete, hard concrete.
Explain
Why do you have
what
a
the separation
issue?
is.
Because I can't have a building, 3 feet apart. So this is why we're doing the concrete. We were going to have to do all of these extra layers of insulation and fire coating, and it's just the simplest thing to do. Yeah. That's before. This is after.
This really helps.
You're not even going to see it. It's so,
Behind the main
From
building.
this angle, yeah.
yeah.
And then it's behind the boat
There are other
racks.
angles where you will see it.
Where you got boat racks right
You want
here.
the way that the street comes in, you go to the first shop.
Here.
And then you swing around, so you will not even see this from the street. And from the harbor, it's, all you'll see is just a peak of the roof.
I think
It's
you're
a
going to be
code
seeing more than that.
That's, we're trying, and then, well, the other part of it is also just the overspray. I mean, there's salt water. If you've ever been out there when they spray, it literally is going all along the boats, across the street, or if it's, wind's going the other way, it's spraying out into the harbor. So even though they have a recycling, water purification system, they're not capturing all the water. And so even the steel rafters that we're looking at either getting stainless steel or a painted.
Or galvanized or something of the kind.
The lighting, I mean, we went out to Don Island 4, they have a new spray booth. The system that they have in there is gonna, it just wouldn't work. They would have seams, and we're afraid of that getting into the wood walls or behind the concrete, and just creating this breakdown.
It is an industrial site.
I understand.
You want to see the view?
I've been out there. I've been out site.
Know it well.
I would almost think that gray corrugated galvanized sheeting on the outside of this building would blend in better than parched concrete.
Okay, so
I just don't think parched concrete.
do I do
on something-
two walls out of shingles and then leave the other two that are concrete? I don't want to mix and match. I was trying to make a building that was consistent.
Yeah.
And I thought that the concrete would be,
I understand it's a difficult problem.
A cards building, obviously, not just concrete blocks. It's
Yeah.
gonna have to be cards.
well, it has to be 4.
Cards, what color?
We were just going to leave it gray, but if you want to, I figured that would be the simplest.
Gray would
That
be
would
the
blend
simplest.
in. I think if we add any color to it, it would just kind of stand
Draw
out.
more attention to it.
Yeah.
How does the garage door work on this?
It's a roll-up.
It's a roll-up.
They're all roll-ups out there.
And I
Yeah.
have to get a special angled bracket to go up all the way to the rafters.
Because otherwise it's in the way of the boats.
Yeah, if the guy gets up there, he's not hitting his head, the lights.
The forklift would want that.
No, he's not, he's...
Motion to view.
I don't have an issue with it, given the industrial nature of the site, clearly. And what's the roof? For the roof?
We're gonna do
Standing
black,
seam?
no, black asphalt to match the
Okay, that's the
existing
other
building.
buildings. Because of where it's located, I know the site really well.
Yeah.
I actually used to run it. You come in from the main road, and you're angling in, and you've got
Yeah.
a boat rack, another boat, which doesn't show, another boat rack, another
Yeah,
boat rack,
got
another
it.
boat rack.
I know all that.
They drive right in that first existing
Right,
workshop.
Yeah,
And
I
right
thought-
now, they have a big, wonderful-looking screen tarp. It was the last time I was out there.
Yeah, it's a big blue.
Tell me again what the garage door material is going to be and what color.
We're working with overhead door, but right now it will be a powder-coated aluminum. And that would actually, I didn't realize this, but I originally was spec'ing galvanized rafters, and Chris Shannon said that they will rust quicker. So we're going to get everything powder-coated.
That's great, just so long as you never penetrate or scratch the powder coat. The second you compromise the powder coat, it's worthless.
Yes. He's willing to do it.
The doors are
Not messing with Mr. Shannon.
Okay, but the color on the doors is what?
White. That's because the door, if you look at the pictures, we're just matching what's there. I mean, if you want to change the color to gray,
I think the door should be gray. I think the whole damn thing should be gray.
that's, I don't know.
Yeah. I think it should be, I think of concrete being quite light, almost white.
So it's going to be gray, concrete,
Gray, concrete, light gray.
gray barge.
Yeah.
Right out of my foundation. Okay, somebody want to make a movement here?
Yeah, I think there should be gray. Yeah, what was proposed was what it was going to look like. It had no issues at all.
Yeah.
Because this thing it is taller.
Yeah.
And it's going to be lighter, and it's going to pop from across the water.
It's just sometimes you may have a turret or a tower getting in there, and then the guy's working on top of it, so trying to spray and clean. That's why we did the height. We were 26.
See it right there. That's going to go. It's going to go
Why
light
can't they
gray.
charge it, why
Yeah,
can't
right
they
from there,
paint it
that's
a
what
color
it is.
like that, it's like a shingle, so it doesn't stand
Well,
out?
the door is certainly going to be gray.
Well, I'll do all the
Why can't the
trims.
charging be gray as well?
No, it will be
Is
like
what
gray.
it is.
Yeah.
I mean, not just like a light gray, but like a real like a shingle, weathers.
Darker gray.
We can do a darker gray.
I don't get why you can shingle above the door, but you can't shingle left and right.
Because of the separation, just because of the radius of the building to the roof line,
other building.
eve line.
Any part of that? How much separation do you have to have?
I think it was 11 feet.
How many sides?
And right now, what we do is we have this drainage. It's already in place.
Yeah.
So what happens now is all the water that comes
Getting
off
there,
the boats
getting your
goes in, comes
Okay.
to this little building, and then
Okay.
all the water gets recycled and cleaned out.
Are you spared that if you connect these two buildings to each other and it becomes an addition rather than a separate structure?
We talked about that, but the offices are up above, and we're worried about them, their second means of egress, and then also lighting into their office. That's their main, there
All the
are,
windows are on the
That's
side.
all the windows they
I'm going to
have.
give you, for instance, what if you physically connected it with a low shed right there, and called this an addition to that, in such a way that you weren't blocking their windows, but did something for the purpose of, for code purposes, of being able to call this an addition?
we talked to that at length with Steve Butler, and there was it changes the code of the other building, the existing building. It all becomes, then it comes
So
connection.
you've got to bring the existing
Yeah.
building up to code.
Yes.
Right now, the existing building is.
Because we
what
looked
it
at
is.
going off the plate of the existing wall, we
Right.
went through all these different scenarios.
Yeah.
And this was, believe it or not,
All right, if the parging, I know they can make the parging darker because the parging on my foundation is the same color as my shingle. I have a wood foundation with polystyrene, and they had to parge the outside, and it's a darker than the layer.
Well, why don't we hold this then for a
sample.
color on the parking designed to match the existing shingling of the surrounding buildings?
David's made a motion to hold it for further information on the charging car.
And gray trim.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. If you can get that in, Joe, by tomorrow at noon?
Yep.
James, you all right with that one? Just the
Yep.
color? Okay. Alrighty.
I'm just trying to avoid the how did that get approved questions.
Right.
You know, I guarantee you we would get them.
Okay. Keller. Is he in the hall? Matt? The stuff's all over there.
Matt, you're up.
Six Lily Street, an application to demo a deck.
You got more copies?
You've got them right there.
Oh. Okay.
Representing the applicant?
Matthew McEachern.
Go for it.
It's pretty simple. There's a deck in the back there. It's flush with the grade. And actually, this is the owner of 5 Evelyn Street, and this is an abutting property. He's just trying to clean it up.
How are you going to get in on the doors? You still meet the threshold?
We are close. We are within, I think, 8 inches. Literally, the deck is on the dirt.
Yeah, but aren't you going to have to put some sort of a stoop into those doors?
Given the height of the finished floor elevation to the grade, I think it's going to be less than 8 inches.
Okay. Anybody have a problem with this?
No.
Okay, David.
Motion to approve.
David made a motion to approve. All those in favor?
Aye.
I couldn't figure out where the hell that was. That's why I wasn't.
Yeah.
Okay, now we got a shed.
6 Lily Street, an application to demo an existing shed.
If I had
Sure
my
you go.
brothers, it would have fallen down. Go ahead.
Yeah, so this is a shed on the property. It's,
Right.
I believe it's from the 1960s. It's not historic. It's not on any Sanborn maps. I'm just trying to get rid of it. Again, actually a portion of it sits over the property line onto 5 Evelyn Street.
Okay, anybody have any issues with this thing?
I really wish I had a locus on this.
Anything going in place of it, or just taking it down?
There should be a locus, Dave. I'm sorry. I don't
And
know
one
why
of the
it's not on
one of the
there.
files should have a locus.
It might be under a separate sheet.
I'm just trying to
It's
get,
this little freestanding building.
Yes.
That's all I've got.
What about the other file? Nothing?
They're all the same thing, just different
Same thing, but
subject
different.
matter, but so we have for each one, it's just one page.
I forget that.
And it's that building there
Do you have the
with the green door.
Yes.
Yeah,
James, is it on the previous application?
you just looked.
I just looked at it, it's not,
Okay.
it's not on that one either.
Abby, do you have any concerns with this thing
Oh,
going away?
what's going in place of it? Anything?
No,
Just-
nothing.
just-
We
I'm
can't.
sorry there's no
It's all over
locus.
the
There really
setback.
should be.
We'd never get approval for it.
Okay,
Diane?
Well, I guess I don't have a problem. I'd like to know if it was built in the 60s, it's still some odd years old. Can it be moved, or does it have, is it in bad condition?
It's in pretty
not
rough
needed?
shape.
One wall of it is completely.
okay, based on Google Earth, there's essentially no visibility of this thing, so I have no concerns.
Somebody want to make a motion?
Motion approved.
Diane's made a motion to approve the demo of the shed. All those in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Thank you. Sorry about that locus. I'll make sure it's on there.
Dobies. Is he not here? Anybody have a problem with holding it for the people that are in here?
no.
Okay.
So we,
We're going past Dobies. We're going to Kenny Coffin.
Want me to move it to the back of the agenda?
Yeah.
Motion to move number 11 Dobies at 22 Grand Point Road to the back of the new business agenda.
Okay, now we're on to, all those in favor?
Aye.
Now we're on to Kenny Coffin. Representing the applicant
Chris.
is Chris Locke, just for the record. Okay. Another new garage. It's not actually for Kenny.
25 Tomahawk Road, an application for a garage. 40 feet in length, 36 in width, 1,440 square feet on the first floor and the second floor. Height original final finish grade 29 feet 10 inches. And the piers for the foundation, sidewalls will be 1x6 board and batten. Double hung windows. Vinyl overhead garage door. Sash terratone, roof dual black, doors white.
If you're looking on your site plan, it's lot 20, which is as you go in further. Gordon Batten. I assume this is a pole barn? Okay. Roof is what, black asphalt?
Roof is dual black, architectural.
Doors color?
Doors white. Sash terratone.
Can you go gray on those doors?
The stairs are painted or natural to weather?
The stairs are natural.
That door,
And the board and batten is all natural, is that right?
Gordon Batten's natural to weather.
It is natural.
It's a standard pole barn, but the only thing, those doors need to be gray and not white. But they come and go better than the gray in there. Any other concerns?
Not for me.
Somebody want to make a motion?
Motion to approve with doors to be, garage doors to be gray, or the approved color.
Well, we've been going gunmetal gray. Does that work? Okay, just say gunmetal. David, that's the darker gray.
Yes, that's fine.
Gunmetal gray, and that includes the people doors?
Yes.
Okay, so people doors and the garage doors are going to go gunmetal gray. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Bernicus? Marnakis?
Manakis, and it's Sarah, not Susan.
Okay, so it should be corrected. It's Sarah Marnakis. Is that spelled correctly?
Manakis, M-A-N-E-I-K.
All right, the whole thing's wrong.
E-I-K-I-S.
M-A-N-E-I. Okay, so it's Manakis with no R.
Right.
And it's Sarah.
Sarah.
Sometimes the handwriting comes in and never.
Well, you
James,
told myself to read it.
I didn't type it up. We don't have to do that anymore.
I don't know how she got there from there. Okay. Representing whoever this is.
Rucker
Harry
Road,
Dornwell.
lot 26, an application for a new dwelling. 38 feet in length, 34 in width, 968 on the first floor, 680 on the second. Height of original final finish grade, 24 feet. Except on the west, where it would be 18 feet, 6 inches. 3-tab, dark gray roof. We have Simpson 4-light front door, 6-light sliding for the rear, 6-light swing for the patio. Trim, natural cedar, sash forest green, doors forest green.
Right on. Go for it. This is most of the way down Rugged Road before it turns dirt. It's a small piece of property that was subdivided from an existing larger piece of property. It's a small, single-family, 1.5 story. As you can see, it's small and concise, and that's all I have to say for the moment.
The reason that I didn't put this on consent, I was questioning the 2/2s.
Right.
And the C windows.
Yeah, and some of it was a little bit too horizontal for me. I thought the structure, I thought it was about as simple as you're going to get on a lot this size. She's having trouble with her well and her septic, by the way. Getting them
It's
on
being designed right now by Paul. The 2/2s we thought were totally appropriate because of the very high-pitched roof and the sort of pseudo-Victorian facade. We really like the... Well, the little windows are on the second floor in the dormer. Is that what you're talking about?
The C windows, they're the wrong, the only ones that face the street are the C windows on the south,
The B windows are in a kitchen.
on the front.
Yeah, on the front.
And that was another reason why they couldn't put it on consent.
If I drop them to the to the absolute counter height level, they'll gain maybe 4 or 5 inches.
David?
I think that helps. I also think that the 12 pitch over the front door of the house seems odd.
Should be just a...
I think a simple shed with the eave of the shed at the same height as the eave immediately to the left would be...
To raise it.
Yeah.
Okay, because that eave is a little taller. No, it's not, sorry. You're right. There would just be a little cross beam below that.
Right.
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 I think we could go with a shed there. I just want something over the front door.
Yeah, I think a shed is better than a gable. Anything else?
No, but the C windows are gonna be changed to different shape.
The C window is another kitchen counter one, so I'll drop that to the kitchen
It
counter.
isn't the height, it's the square of
The square.
Well, if I
instead of
make it
vertical.
if I make it a little more of a vertical window, it would probably,
Yeah, it should be
Do
the
it.
same shape as the rest of the windows.
David, were you finished?
It's a simple little house.
Debbie, anything to add?
Approval with the shed over the front door.
Diane? That's a gable. Diane?
Oh, and the change of the C window to a larger.
Okay,
One
David,
vertical.
you want to try to craft a motion through staff?
This motion is to approve for staff with the porch roof over the front door
On the south elevation?
on the south elevation to become a shed roof. The eave of that roof to align with the eave of the wing immediately to the left on the south elevation. With the, what are we doing on these windows? The height of the C windows to match the height of the gang B windows?
And the panes of glass match
Wait a minute.
the other panes.
Hold on. What are we doing with the Cs and the Bs?
I'm unsure because I was, frankly,
They're
less
at the
concerned
counter?
about that. They're all
Yeah,
at
they're-
counter level, right?
Yeah.
well, they're a little bit above the counter, but if I drop
Yeah,
it
but
4
the top
inches
of
to
the-
be at the top of the counter, then I can get some more verticality.
But the top of the B window is at the same height as the front door, as the same height as the A window
Yeah,
to
it's
the
the
left.
same header.
So I don't want them dropping any
No, you
further.
drop
Just
the
the sill,
So you make them more vertical.
So
get
that
it
the
a little
windows
more
would get a
vertical.
little bit larger.
a little bit more vertical.
And same with the
Are
up
you
ones
talking
on
about
the second.
Second floor, we can't do much about because of
They've got
the
the height.
dormer. But they're,
The south elevation is really the most...
You can use a different shaped window pane. I don't think those are the only ones that should be square in the whole house. I think it looks silly.
yeah, they're a tiny bit, let's see,
In the back though.
East elevation
They are.
is,
It's on the side.
it's a 2.6 by 3.0. So it's approximately 68.
All right, so let's stay
Yeah.
on the south elevation for a second. What are we doing with those B windows, making them taller, correct?
Can you get another 4 inches? Is that going to be a stock
I can,
adjustment?
I'm pretty sure I can go to a 3/8 and 7/8.
Okay.
All right, so that's the B window
So,
on the south elevation.
On the south elevation, the B window units to be
4
and
inches
the
taller.
4 inches taller, but the head height is to remain the same
Right.
on the elevation.
Yeah.
The C window unit is to...
What elevation?
On the east elevation
Okay.
is to have the matching,
A single of the B.
yes,
Rather
The
than,
first,
yes.
is that going to work on the second floor dormer?
No, it's
No.
not. I think
So we're
it'll
talking
be
just the
up-
well, those are actually E's because
All right.
I'm working with
So we're
the-
just, again, talking, and on the back side, on the east elevation, you're talking about the C windows getting, matching the B window on the front as reconfigured.
The C window is going to be a single overhung, similar
B.
to the ganged double overhung.
Same
This makes
size
the B unit.
as a single B unit in the front.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay?
And then the E's, I
No,
don't
I'm not talking about the east.
know if we can do
All right,
it.
somebody want to make that motion?
That's my motion.
David's made that motion through staff with the south elevation front porch becoming a shed as opposed to a gable over the front door, with the eaves to line up with the addition to the left. The B windows on the south elevation are to be 4 inches longer. The head height stays the same. And the 2 first floor C windows on the rear are to match one of the single B units as reconfigured on the front. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
With Jane?
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor of that motion? All right, thank you, thank you. Whose motion was that? That was unanimous. Nantucket Athenaeum.
India Street, an application for the Athenaeum, new windows and new wood storm windows throughout.
Representing the applicant?
Ron Winter.
Okay, go for it.
I don't know if you have these. Are these photos in the packet?
They're in the
The little thing on the top? Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right. We are building a learning center in the basement and improving the existing kitchen. The plans show the area in the light gray, and this was an overhaul of the existing vault to be a classroom. And we're trying to get some natural light into that classroom. And the kitchen, also on the opposite side, we're trying to get some natural light into the kitchen so the staff doesn't feel like they're sitting in a dungeon. So we've attached a couple of pictures to it showing the actual windows on the side. This is the first picture here is the what street is that?
Yes. Federal.
Federal Street. Has 2 existing windows, and we're proposing to add a third directly underneath the window. It's just one window closer to the post office. And like kind, these windows were added when they did the renovation back in '95 and underpinned the basement. And a similar one, the next picture is in a garden where we're proposing to add another window. On the lower picture, it'd be under the left window, the left upper window.
On my drawing, Ron, A3.1, in the lower right-hand side, I've got a note that says proposed new window that seems to be overlapping an existing window. Do you see what I'm saying?
It might be that he's going through, yeah,
Looks like some kind
you
of
can't
a
see
funky
that part of the building from that elevation.
So that's
So
why-
it's actually in the main part of the old,
Okay, so I'm looking through the
Yeah,
Easy
that's
Library
right.
to a location on the main building.
right,
Okay.
yeah. And if you look in the plan, you can actually see, that location here, David.
Is it only the windows that's being proposed?
What's that?
Is it only the window?
There's
in the
2
basement?
windows, one on each side, being proposed, and then the second part of the application is that we would like to install wood storm windows to the existing old structural windows that are single pane glass. This is the package for that.
Yeah, when I first looked at it, I had no idea which windows were getting replaced, so I just said, okay.
Yeah, well,
Explain it.
we gave a schedule with it. I think this schedule is attached, and basically, it's the original main building.
Is that it?
Yes, that actually corresponds with the nomenclature on the building itself. It's, if you look at the plan, you can see the numbers of
Right.
the windows that were applied.
And that's what concerned me, I just didn't know, because if it was just all the foundation windows, which are a later addition, that's one thing, they're all clear.
No, it's for the
It's the
main
main-
old
all
part
the
of the
old
building.
windows.
Yeah.
And these storm windows are not these powder. You're not
That's
proposing those.
That's the hangers for the tops of the windows, and the window itself is just a very basic old-fashioned wood storm window.
It screws into the
It
existing.
actually, it just is hung by these fasteners on the top. These fasteners.
They
There's-
will
They-
swing, don't they?
Yeah, they swing out on the bottom. These hooks, it's just a standard hook and eye at the base on both sides. And we would propose actually to, because sometimes they like to get a little fresh air, we don't want to button this place up, that we'll actually have two sets of hooks at the bottom on some of the windows near the main circulation desk,
So you could
so we
open
could
them?
prop them open
But the main storm window is going to be wood, old-fashioned wood.
Yeah, it's a painted wood frame. It's very narrow profile. It's
Painted to match
two-
the,
2-inch painted white to match. So it won't actually protrude. The glass will actually be larger than the actual window glass of the panes, or about the same size. You know, we're trying to keep this in line with the existing sash rail and style.
Did you cover already, David, how old the windows, the main body windows are, and if those are the original windows?
I've not discussed that.
Yeah,
So that's the question, that's why I was having some confusion, is that why are you replacing all these old windows, the big windows?
we're not
This
replacing.
is just putting storm sash.
Storm, okay, that's what I
Yeah.
couldn't figure out.
Yeah.
But these storm sash, you want to have operable so they'll stay up all year.
They'll stay up all year. Now the building, you know, we just retrofitted the building's HVAC system last year to comply with the American Library Association's requirements for humidity control and climate control. And so they won't be opening the doors as they used to. We actually have, you know, the front door may be open, but the inner doors won't be, so they can keep the conditioned space.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
just one question,
you know.
where the windows are white, you'll have white hardware, and where the windows are green, will they be?
Well, the outside, you know, I know that the original sash are green. I guess we could do whatever you guys thought was the most appropriate. And if you wanted to, we could actually do a mock-up for you. We had one guy build a mock-up window, and we could put it in place for a viewing if you wanted to.
I think that might be worthwhile. One concern I've got is that on the existing building, you can see from the photographs that the old window sash are painted dark. And if we install white storm sash over it,
Yeah.
then the rails and stiles of the old window disappear behind the storm sash, and the only thing that remains dark become the window buttons.
Yeah.
And it changes the way you
It
read
looks, yeah.
the building. And so I think it's, on a building this important, I think it'd be a great idea to do a mock-up.
Okay, I'd be happy to get that done.
Okay, any other comments between now and then?
Would you like the mock-up painted white or green, or what would you like?
I think that it should be white where the windows are white and green where the windows are green. But
Well, you're only putting storms at the upper level over the double hungs that are painted dark, right?
Yeah.
And the new window at the basement level are not getting storms, but they're all getting painted white to match the existing.
Yeah, these are white. We're just going to put another sash, just like this, fixed sash.
And it's going to be the same appearance in every respect.
Every respect, yeah. The whole, you know, this has been a parged masonry. You know, when they underpinned it, they built it, picked it up. You don't need to know. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
It'll look just like that picture.
All right, so what are you going to do?
Let's have the viewing.
Would probably on the Federal Street side, right?
If you wanted to separate the two,
I would
I would
like
be
to
ready to
separate
make
them.
motion to approve the basement windows as submitted. New windows in the locations applied for, appearance to match in every respect the existing windows, comparable windows nearby.
You'd have to go in and split the application up with James.
Not to give us a
We
fresh
can't
application
approve
for the
partial
upstairs
applications.
windows. But that allows us to break the downstairs free and let you get started on it.
Right, so we could resubmit a new application for the storms?
Yeah, just do
Okay.
that tomorrow, so it can come back up next week.
Okay.
You can put the mock-up up.
In a week.
Fine.
Yeah.
Well,
I
then you
don't
come
have
back
to
up
paint
next
it.
Tuesday,
I don't have to
unless you
paint
want to wait, you can just come back up in 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
it. We could do it, I think we could do it. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Talk to
Okay.
James. So David, you are approving,
Motion to approve the additional basement windows only. They are to match in every respect the existing basement windows
okay,
that will adjoin them.
and you are splitting, it must be on the record, that you're splitting the application between the storms on the old windows and the basement windows, which are getting approved. They will refile the new application.
Technically, I don't think I need to say that. I think all I need to do is approve the basement windows and be silent about the rest. And then it's up to Ron to reapply for the rest. I think that covers us.
Okay, but you guys work it out, James.
Yeah.
All right, David's making a motion at this point to approve that part of the application that deals with basement windows as submitted, matching in every respect the existing ones. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Holly Lamb? Holly Ann Lamb? Is there anybody here for those? Is Ben or Mickey out in the hallway?
I haven't seen him at all.
Joe, who's out in the hallway?
Matt.
Just Matt? Talking to himself?
The Matador.
All right, we're going to skip. David, make a motion to put Holly and Lamb to the end.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, McGilvray. I told you we'd be there.
You're right. Bill McGuire for the applicant.
.30 Rhode Island Avenue, an application to revise previous COA 60170, remove lattice skirt on all 4 sides, change direction on south elevation.
The stairs. Change the stair direction.
Stair direction, you said?
Explain why.
On the south elevation, the stair, we had the stairs going toward the water, but on the Concom approval, we needed to change their direction, so now they're headed west instead of south. And because of its location on the dune, we think that the dune is undulating, and therefore try and keep the lattice on there and not impact the dune would be at odds with each other, so we're asking to, at this point, eliminate the use of the lattice work under the,
So by doing that, you permit dune migration to occur?
I'm sorry?
You're
Yes.
permitting dune migration to
Right.
occur? I think in this setting, all of that is appropriate. I would be in favor.
Anybody have any other concerns? You want to make a motion?
Motion to approve.
David's made a motion to approve. All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Thank you. That was unanimous. Okay, the next one we've already put over until Tuesday.
The Abramson is actually a consent item that just is a duplicate, so you don't need to worry about 3 Charter Street.
All right, so cross
Motion
that
to
one off.
remove number 19 Abramson, 3 Charter Street from,
Regular business.
the regular business agenda.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 76 Main. Yep. Diane, here it comes. I'm gonna get it.
Add Gables, this is 76 Main Street. Application to add gables, revised penetration, changes on the south elevation.
Thing in your head there, representing the applicant.
Matthew McCucker.
Okay, go for it.
So this is the existing one-story structure in the back of the property. They're looking to add a couple of doors off the back side. None of this is visible from any public light. The plate height is extremely low. You need to at least get a 6/8 door in there. It's really the only way to do it. We don't want to go with a 4-pitch. I mean, it's basically a 2-pitch roof as it is.
It faces the back of the carriage house, not
Right.
visible. You know this building, top to bottom, left to right. Anybody have any concerns here?
Another second, there are glimpses and views around that carriage house on the raised floor, which is why we hesitated to approve the second story addition to this.
I think you'll,
Excuse me?
What's the color, turquoise?
No.
Oh.
I don't think so.
it's not just carriage house, you've also got Jones's two cottages.
Is this just an egress requirement now?
It's actually there's a small little yard area behind there. It would be a nice appealing area for
Right now, you have to walk around the building to get there.
hotel.
So you're just putting in those 2 doors.
Yeah, essentially it's putting in the 2 doors and necessity of existing.
Actually, it breaks up the flat roof.
I think the impact is minimal. I move to approve.
David's made a motion to approve. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that was unanimous. Still got O'Connor.
Actually, that we actually submitted that the day of the deadline and withdrew it the same day before the deadline.
So it's gone?
The Housing Street one.
Yeah.
All right, so remove 21 from the agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Redeveloper.
About time we had a straightforward description of what the applicant was.
All right, these next 4 are sort of all together.
Okay, so we're starting with,
I don't think you're sitting on it.
well, it's all new business.
I know, but when we talked about it the last time, they're direct butters.
Oh,
I'm not direct.
You're not direct to butter, but within 300 feet of a ZBA.
That was outside of town, you just told me.
No, Diane, on the ZBA portion of it, but her daughter is married to the direct abutter. The whole length of the street.
I can't comment on that.
He has Fayette Street, and he's on Meader Street.
All right, the last time you didn't sit, just so you know.
I just,
15 Meter Street, an application for an addition,
And it does have to go to ZBA, Diane, so you will get notice.
new building, add, I'm not quite sure what that says, window changes, raised building on the east, or maybe Wart, oh, add deck on the east. Add Wharton deck on the south, raised building west, add doors, window changes, add decks.
Diane, if you're going to get notice from the ZBA, because it has to go to the zoning board.
okay, so I can't sit on.
I wouldn't just for the sake of argument, because you are absolutely within 120 feet of this thing, on your back corner line.
Would somebody that is
Well, I would, if I may,
Right there.
representative?
my conversations with the state have been that you have to recuse if you are within 2 properties.
2 properties.
Linda, I'm not,
She is.
please don't interrupt me. You have to be within 2 properties or within 300 feet. And Diane can look at the locust plan and make her own judgment as to whether or not she or a relative lives within 2 properties.
Diane is within 2 properties, clearly, and clearly within 300
Your
feet.
relative
It's up to Diane to make her own
Forget first.
determination, not to be browbeaten by the chair.
I just don't want to get into trouble with something that has to go to ZBA on top of it. So Diane, are you going to recuse?
Yeah, I have to, because that butts up to Alma's
Yeah, but it butts up to you also within one property, on your back property line and your lovely little wetlands.
So, having sorted out who's sitting, what is this application about?
This is existing, right? We're not
Yeah.
demolishing.
Does that say A, cottage A?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are two cottages on the property that we're referring to as A and B that are existing. They are on the west side of the lot, and they are moving to the east side of the lot. I don't know if you remember that discussion about the lower buildings going towards the east, the taller buildings going towards the west. So we made those changes. You've only seen cottages A and B in footprint before. You've never seen them drawn. You've seen photographs of them. And then the site plan conversation is sort of pretty much what we had centered on last time when we discussed C and D. And what we've done is there were four, I think the main issue is that there were four cars aligned adjacent to one another along the street. And we've revised the parking plans so that there are two cars that are internal, there are two cars that are adjacent to one another on the east corner of the lot, and then there are two cars to the west.
I hate this.
Are we reviewing the parking today, or are we just looking at cottage A?
Well, we've been talking about the
Well,
parking
you guys have
every
been
time one
hung
comes
up
in.
on
I'm asking the applicant.
We haven't
the
addressed-
site plan has been what the focus of your comments have been primarily, and it has been reviewed by the ZBA, and they requested that there be additional parking, that there be 6 cars we had originally proposed 4, and they had approved the 4 adjacent to one another on Meter Street, and then the 2 to the left of Cottage C. So that didn't meet with much favor here, so we showed
We still have
2
4 after
internal
After this one.
here, so that we
Okay.
break up the cars. So, other than that, we did some minor shuffling of the buildings, and buildings C and D we made revisions to, which are up next.
Okay.
So, A, B, C, and D, obviously the site plan's the same for all, and then cottages A and B are identical to one another.
I got 3 more to do.
Are we going to get different elevational treatments on the 2, or they're proposed to continue to match?
They match.
What, A and B?
A and B match. Currently.
They match currently.
They
And as proposed.
As proposed, yeah, correct. When I said currently, I meant as proposed.
David?
On the skirts, painted white, natural to weather, where are we on that?
We've got them called out as painted white.
Okay, that's I think, as before, not going to find support here.
Okay.
They look very formally dressed, too. They're all sort of divided into panels, as if
Okay.
it was cased. I think it needs to be an extremely simple treatment in keeping with the existing character of the cottages. You know, it could be horizontal running slats, spaced an inch apart, 1x2 slats.
Vertical or
It'd be interesting to mix up A and B and C and D. I know that you don't want to talk about 4 projects at the same time, but they all are elevated off the ground, and they're currently all treated the same way.
And not only that, they're all quite close together, and we want to try to preserve a sense of them being lower, not higher. And so that's why I'm saying maybe horizontal is a better choice.
I've never seen horizontal.
I think they've gotten approval for horizontal from us before on some of their new buildings.
We have. It would actually be easier to construct horizontally
You'd
because
have
we
to show
have.
me a picture of that, because I'm not in favor of that right off the bat. But
Okay.
you have to show me a picture of it.
We'll hold that.
I've seen it somewhere, but I think I like the vertical better, just like half an
We're
inch
going to need some
apart.
choices on another way to treat the skirt
So
under
just
the building.
pictures.
Got it.
But natural to
There's going to be
weather.
natural weather, not framed.
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
On the east elevation, there was an old plank door. In fact, it's an old Dutch plank door with an old lever handle.
Uh-huh.
I don't care what's on the inside of it, but I do need that door.
I think that door ought to stay. You know, the way this is configured, a owner of this could latch that door, either one panel or both, against the wall, and have a glass door to the inside or a screen door to the inside.
I like that.
And that's a really typical treatment that ought to stay.
Okay.
I think the double hung windows are too large for this little tiny building, and the type A's doing 3 is too many. So that needs to be scaled back. I'm fine with replacing what look like casement windows that are there presently. I'm fine with the D window to the left of the front door on the cottage elevation. On the west elevation, if you're going to be introducing a new plank door, it ought to be a couple of small panes, similar to what you have in the existing awning windows to the left. I think that door could have 4 lights, but when you take a plank door and put windows that big in it, it's hard to support the door structurally, and it looks out of character.
Now, have you looked at these 6 light sashes they've got now up in the right-hand picture compared to these narrow top to bottom? They've got standard 6 light sash. They want to put in these little teeny weeny 8 light sashes, which I don't think are appropriate.
I'm sorry.
Those are existing, actually. They should have been drawn as the 6 light. So the intention in the west elevation is to not change those
Not
windows.
change them.
Yeah,
Okay.
those are existing.
So you have to fix that drawing, because
Yeah.
these are 4x4s, and these are only 6 light, which I think are appropriate. These little tiny
Okay.
little 8 lights are not.
Okay.
The C windows are my big issue.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
They're not working for me at all. The 4 lights, I believe those are, again, 3 lights and not 4 lights. You're going to have to check that single lines. They're there. But I don't know if they're 4 lights or 3 lights.
Okay.
Because I don't think these are the right size that are in the house either. So check those. But the C windows are my big issue.
Okay.
I can't stand them.
It may be a drawing thing, but at the top of the staircase leading to the deck, the platform for the deck is drawn on the east elevation as if it cantilevers.
Oh, it's the drawing issue.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's correct that.
Smack this person upside the head.
Same
Then it looks like
thing.
they got a panel, David. You see on the north, there's like a panel under the porch?
Yeah, I know.
That's going.
And there's a similar drawing issue on the south elevation when you get
Behind
to the
the
top of the
stairs.
landing.
Yeah.
And behind the
So
stairs.
just clean that up. Motion to hold for revisions?
Okay, is exactly the same stuff going on the other building?
Exactly
Then
for
make
the
the
next,
same.
for B.
Make the same motion for B. That's corrected on B.
Yeah, and I would say that some slight variation between the two would be attractive.
But you got some fatal errors on both of them. So David, your motion is to hold number 22. Hold on. And number 23 for revisions?
That is correct.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All those in favor? Okay. But nothing terribly earth-shattering. All right, now we're to the two new structures, cottage C. Diane, we have 4 more that you can sit on after these guys. So you're not going anywhere.
15 Meter Street, an application for cottage C, 30 by 18, 540 square feet on the first floor, and the second. Height of regular final finish grade, 25 feet 9 inches. Trim white, sash white, foundation white, roof natural, doors black.
All right, we've seen these two before.
You have, and I apologize, but I'm not sure why they're not clouded.
Were they withdrawn to be
Oh,
resubmitted?
that's
Okay, so we're starting over, but
Yeah.
still, it would be nice to know what we...
Yeah, they were withdrawn, and, right, they were withdrawn to be resubmitted so they could all be heard together.
Except that I don't see anything changed.
Well, there
We
were
had a
cottage
problem with.
corners with flares on these, and there was a large picture window with a cantilevered bay.
Yeah, I remember that.
Do you remember that? And then there was a comment about removing all the friendship stairs so that we didn't have any friendship stairs. And we simplified, the biggest one was the east elevation where we've got the 3 dormers. That's the one where we had the stair with the projecting bay, and there was like a 6-foot by 6-foot window in there.
Yes, we're still on the cottage.
Story and a half.
We're still on the cottage. It's
Does
done.
that-
Say nothing.
Does that all make sense?
I think so.
Yeah, we added corner boards throughout. So if I start on the south elevation, we didn't change anything except we added corner doors.
Well, clearly not to be
Yeah, and we've already had the conversation about the lower level.
Yep.
On the west elevation, there was a friendship stair. We simplified that. We didn't make any other changes. On the east elevation, we added that central single dormer where there was a large projecting bay. We made no other changes. And on C, we made the balcony smaller and we got rid of the friendship stair. So those are the changes. They were fenestration changes, mostly to the second floor on the east elevation. And we'd actually gone pretty far down the road. We've reviewed them, I think, 3 times.
Well, my south elevation still looks like a little. David?
The biggest thing I think about this is I think that this building needs to be spun 180 degrees so that the north elevation faces the street and so that the west elevation faces the common area in the middle of the site. The presentation that we've had is that this is similar to North Wharf, which is fine, but that means people come up the middle of the site and enter their separate units off of that common space.
Here's the problem.
I'm done. I'm not done yet. The difficulty with Cottage C is the building is smack on the street, but the street elevation is blank. That's not how you get into it. And the elevation on the east that you have to walk along to get to the other cottages also has no door and is not a hospitable neighborhood contributing kind of treatment. On the other hand, if you spin this building and you're looking at a friendship stair on what's now labeled the west elevation, that works for me, and the balcony and the staircase up to the front makes of that north elevation put on the street a kind of flagship elevation that welcomes you into the site. So, I think that everything else to my mind, other than having to get not having a big heavy belt course that's painted white and a white skirt on this, could all work. But I think it needs to be spun.
Abby?
Sorry, I just have a question about what he suggested. Where do the cars go if you spin that?
They have no access.
You take this and you turn it like that.
Well, if you spin it, we'd interrupt the
access.
back. Well, we'd interrupt the back stair.
Yeah. You can't get into it from the parking
Well,
space.
you actually would enter it up. Yeah, actually, the back stair would no longer exist. You'd enter up the front stair.
Good question.
What would happen for this is that you might, for example, park your car right in from the street and go up a staircase that's right here to get into the front of the building, or if you want, you can step around and go in a staircase on the side. These distances are all tiny in any case.
Can I add to this conversation, hopefully? If we just, conceptually, we rotated this 180 degrees so that the street facade is now north, but we kept the west and east elevations as is. I think we could also we could accommodate that so that there would be the balcony on Meter Street, there'd be the stair on Meter Street, the gable end would be pushed back off the road a little bit more, but we would still have access off the parking area. I think that would be a good compromise, I think, anticipating what my client's going to say, because I know that the resident having access to the parking and to their side yard without going through the common space was really important. It was one of the reasons why we ended up with all the friendship stairs.
I see.
So that we could get down to a common area and to yard at the same time. That's how we got those.
This is a single-family dwelling.
Single-family dwelling, yeah.
But you should be able to have access into the structure from the parking area, which I don't agree with the ZBA on all. But from those 2 parking spaces they forced on you, you at least be able to get into the cottage.
Yeah, well, and I think it also gives that cottage a sense of privacy. I can see your point about the Meter Street elevation. I think actually looking down Meter Street and seeing that balcony there, in my mind, does it does speak to the North Wharf, and
Yeah.
actually, I think you'd probably catch an ocean view off that balcony
You
down that
probably
end.
do. And
I think you would.
I don't know what views you'd have, but if you flip this thing, suddenly your fireplace goes on the wall away from the water, and there's potential through those ganged double windows also to get a glimpse down the lane toward the water.
Right, so I could ask my client about what he would like to do in terms of the rotation.
All right, make a motion to hold for this.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Cottage D is identical, but I'm assuming doesn't have the same site issues. I don't know. Well, actually, it's not. It is flip-flopped, so that there is access off the front if you look at the site plan.
Get away from me.
Okay, so that's being held for revisions. What do you want to do with this other one?
Do you want to look at D?
I'm happy as long as we're here and we can do the time.
I do have to leave at 4 o'clock.
And we've got 4 more to go.
Can we hold it to look at it when he comes back, or?
Yeah, I mean, here's, if you just want to
We've
take
got
a
the
glance
front
at
porch
that.
right there.
Okay.
So D has access from the common area, but the balcony's off the back. That's kind of a hybrid of it. Everything else is the same.
So we'll just, David's made a motion to hold that to come back in with C.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank
All
you.
those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. David Silva. Oh, honey.
How you doing?
Oh, yeah. And it's not Sylvia. The agenda's wrong,
Okay.
but David put the application in, right?
He's dyslexic.
It's nice to see that everybody reads the agendas before they get to the meeting. 54 Jefferson Avenue, application to replace existing hood fans for the provided materials.
I looked at this, given those awful things that are on the building, I wasn't sure how you would feel about what they wanted to do. I've seen it done with lattice, I just haven't seen it done with solid. There's pictures of what, Diane has the pictures.
Do you want to do it with what?
So Diane, they need to see the pictures as well.
This is,
They want to cover them. They've been exposed since
Yeah,
the
the gas
galley
line.
was built,
Right.
and they've had to, obviously with code, they've had to replace them. Painting that was useless, it just flew off in the weather.
and this is copper.
And now it's copper, and they want to now put a solid board to protect them, I assume.
Well, this is as a result of complaints for sound and odor
For the
from
new guys next door.
the new guys next door, that purple
So you're
one.
going to line the inside of this with sound attenuating blankets or something, or?
Yeah, and the metal, the reason the copper rather than the wood is the fire department. They're not happy with wood. So this is try to improve the quality of the neighborhood. Your main view coming down the street would be the same 4-foot wide span that you would see those stacks. The stacks are not very attractive, especially in the winter when they're covered up with duct tape
Yeah,
and plastic.
Yeah.
they're noteworthy, let's say.
Yeah, so these would patina out their height and width. If you were to draw a straight line with from one to the other, really wouldn't get any bigger. I mean, it wouldn't get any bigger. And this is our best solution between fire department, odor, smoke, noise, and all the ladies on the Gaza Strip would be happy because the prevailing southwest wind would
Right over them.
keep.
Parents say it all the time.
What about, it looks like that picture, that a couple of windows are being covered up. Is that true, or is that just,
It's no higher than the current obstruction of the window.
Which is the vents themselves.
which is the vents themselves?
So they're to the same height as the vent, and
Copper's going to turn green, right?
I would think so with patina.
Gonna rough out. It certainly looks a lot better than what's there.
Really?
No, I don't think so.
I like what's there.
I hate what's there. But they're
I
having
mean, I'm
trouble.
not happy with it, but
What's wrong with what's there? I mean, it's nice.
The new houses on the other side of the
Oh.
Gaza Strip
Yeah,
runs right
this
into
isn't-
their building.
This isn't our idea. This is to comply with the neighborhood.
And it used to be one-story cottages back in the day.
Oh, and they
that
developed
Help lived in and other
this-
people lived in.
Right, to the, yes.
And now it's
To the right
different.
of that.
well, he knew where he was building and what he was building.
Except that he
And-
doesn't own them all.
And,
This
and
doesn't
neither
look
are they
architecturally
particularly gorgeous
correct.
either.
At least this is what it is. It's a big
I agree.
exhaust, and it just.
Where does that leave you if they won't do it?
Is there any solution to treat the outside of it other than copper? Because it does have to have a metal enclosure for the fire department, but we could come up with a different idea.
Like a shingled deck?
You know, I think that we approved something somewhat related down at the end of Straight Wharf when they did the conversion of a roof walk.
They have lattice all over the place, and then they have a shingled wall.
I think that, well, we gave them a wall around their garbage cans and stuff, just as you come down the wharf to the building on the right-hand corner. I think they had some propane tanks and just all kinds of junk that needed screening. But I also think that we allowed them to do some screening on the roof to hide some of their vent work. And it may again have been the horizontal strips. I can't quite remember, but I'd get a look at that. Now maybe let me just go the full cycle on this. There may be a treatment of that would look appropriate cosmetically. You might decide to go behind that with your copper and your attenuating blankets. But I think just doing the sheet metal enclosure all by itself, at least I'm hearing from the two of us, isn't appealing.
Well, here's what we've done. Here's what we've done in the
It seems
past.
very
Makes it
big.
larger than.
There's a couple of solutions here. What we've done in the past to hide air conditioning units on the roofs, all kinds of these things, even keel is a good example of whatever it calls itself now. We've done pseudo roof walks on these low buildings, which I can't
Not
stand.
doing that anymore.
We've done lattice. We have done vertical board. We have done mostly balusters.
You know, all of that stuff would probably work, except they're trying to get the sound attenuating
We have to,
blankets. So
some
if they
things,
need to wrap it, you
Now,
know.
here's a question for you. Wouldn't a shingled wall work like it's a deck, or would the copper not spanning a whole length, but around each one by itself?
well, there's a different unit behind here that's long and rectangular.
That one?
I'll show you. It's
You
in
put
the
a new unit up as well?
Yeah, it's the
See,
one
these two are right
traps
close together.
that traps the smoke and the odor. Let me
I see.
give it to you.
Okay, so I am seeing something here, but I didn't know where it went or what to make
It's
of it.
this device. So those actual units come down and they're replaced with a long rectangle.
Yeah.
And again, this is to accommodate the neighborhood. It will make the actual experience down there better in the summer. I
It will.
It would help to have whatever this thing is and drawn to scale on the roof where it is, so that we can kind of see what it is you're trying to
It's
hide.
right here,
Yeah.
right?
And can have a conversation about how best to hide it.
Right.
there.
It does actually fill up this
This piece.
this sketch behind you, and we've got it as tight as we can around it. There's no extra space.
Does this go to is this the left-hand enclosure or the right-hand enclosure?
That one.
Yeah, it runs the
Because
length.
these guys are new. They're behind that one.
It runs actually the length of both enclosures.
So how are you allowed to have a gap between the two enclosures?
I don't know if we're allowed to have a gap between the two.
Well, you've got a separate, he does have a gap in the roof between the two enclosures. Right there. Because those big, tall, round ones are on the right.
If this thing here
Is on the
Come
left.
up behind you.
excuse me, is it run behind both of these or just
Right,
one?
that gap could be more of an indentation, I think.
Okay.
Because the round ones are on the
Between
right
these
still.
two fatter stacks, there's a narrow section in the middle.
See these guys, David, they're not
So
going
this
anywhere.
thing is 12 feet long, is that right?
That's right.
And it's 3.5 feet high.
There's the height, and there's the extra 12 inches
Above it,
above it for the,
blowback.
just for the sound. They thought that 12 inches gave you more sound protection.
Okay. So you're gonna carve a hole in the roof and create a waterproof
It's right on
platform,
top.
huh?
It sits on top.
It sits above the roof.
Yeah, it just looks like it's.
So why don't we just cut a hole in the roof and drop it down a couple of feet for starters?
That's the
So-
kitchen.
It's I'll just answer that question. The fire code is you need so much stack above the
Roof
vent system inside.
Yeah,
There's only 2 inches of give.
And so you've got to run up some distance before you hit the air handler?
Right, so we have to, that's why these are so tall coming out too, because of, so we're not really any higher than this, and we can't go any shorter than this, but,
Sorry.
No, you go.
I was just going to ask if you could run a parapet wall in front of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I was wondering,
Is that what I'm
along
saying?
those lines, and architecturally, because it's like a shingle style, it's got that kind of, with the
Rafters and all that stuff.
rafters and all that stuff. If you were to make an enclosed balcony and sit them down in, I don't know how far you could get out of that pitch of the roof, but make like an enclosed balcony shingled around, and then you could just have your exhaust.
Well, they just said you
pieces.
can't drop them.
we can't go into the roof
So
line.
you've got to have a certain amount of vertical
Can't come any
view
closer.
Off the
before he
roof,
hits.
up the bottom of the.
Yeah, he can't sit that thing right on top of the.
But that's what I was trying to
ceiling.
say, a sort of a shingled wall outside of the copper to make it look like it's a
Yeah.
shingled deck.
If you like the horizontal doors thing, we can hang them right off the edge of it and have copper behind it.
I see the before picture.
Yep.
I think
Diane has them too.
the board,
But we gotta do something so James.
if you have the shingle wall, like you suggested, Linda, and
That's-
put
I think
the
that's the
copper
only way to do
behind
it.
it, it'd probably be the least.
It would be built into the roof line, this shingled wall?
Yeah,
We'd
it
have
would
to
look
take a
like
look at
it
that.
was
Yeah.
a deck, but it's.
So it,
but
so it
it's not.
stays on the
Could be the
same,
deck.
you keep the same paraphernalia, whatever,
Yeah.
the exhausts, and you just
And
build
there's-
something.
And there'd be no decking, it would just be around
Right,
it.
right, I got it.
Could we see a picture of it before?
You know, I'd like to view it with drawn elevations of what it would be, not just the photos.
Right.
Because maybe there's another way to skin this cat. I appreciate what you're trying to do.
Absolutely.
And I think it's nice that a lot of it's being motivated by concern for the neighborhood. I think it's a tough building to alter.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to go down and spend some time thinking about it.
Okay.
And I'd like to have a drawing of what it would look like if we did
Me too. We would need that before
the
we
shingle,
do the approval anyway.
the shingled wall.
So we're going to get drawings for you with a shingled look?
Yeah, as soon as you put the drawing in, we'll put it on the view list.
Okay.
So then we can bring it
Drawings,
back.
view list. You
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, David's made a motion to hold for drawings, and once the drawings are ready,
Further
put it on the view
information and
list.
review. Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thanks. Alrighty. Something,
Shimo Pond, is that what it-
yeah. I don't think that's right.
How can you question the spelling on this agenda?
What is the name?
Berman.
Spell it.
Oh,
There you go.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it is.
B-E-H-R-M-A-N,
HR.
no, B-E-R-H-M-A-N.
Okay.
So it has nothing to do with what's in front of us.
Sitting in the row.
I know, it's so funny. What's representing?
Ben Calver, C-O-W-G-E-R.
C-O-W-G-E-R, Ben. Okay? What's the story, Matt?
I'm just curious about Burns, if it goes to the end of the agenda. or-
Yeah, we're getting there right now, as quickly as we can, because James has to leave, and then we're on our own.
21 Shimo Pond is an application for removable screens, screen doors, storm panels, 2 porches.
It originally came in with glass, and these are screens, right?
They're all screens and
All
glass.
screens. Because the glass didn't quite work. It was a very strange configuration. This is on an existing porch, and they just want to put the screens in.
And you say movable screens, you mean removable?
Yes.
Okay, so it's going to be a frame.
The whole thing comes out. They're building it into the porch, from what Lowell said. Is that your understanding?
correct, yeah.
So they can take them out in the winter so they don't get trashed?
Okay, so the screen panels are going to be built-in sash that you can lift out.
Yes, yes.
Anybody have an issue here?
And color?
Painted white to match.
You've got the screen panel set flush to the exterior face of the column.
No.
On the plan, it's shown that way.
It doesn't look that
It
way on
doesn't
the
look like,
drawing.
yeah. I'm not sure.
And they ought to be set to the inside face so that we preserve the shadow line.
The inside face.
Yeah, 'cause
Okay.
otherwise we're just going to pile up casing upon
Sure.
casing and casing to column face.
So it's inside of the face of the column, right?
Yeah.
Inside face.
Right.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
So you want to make that motion?
My motion is to approve with the removable screen to be installed flush to the inside face of the column, the porch columns, not to the exterior face.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now we got two that we're carrying down.
Thank you.
Okay. And we carried down
We're doing Burns.
Horst. What, you just like stuck in the chair now after 3 hours? Okay.
He's going on a theory that if it makes us sit long enough, we'll start handing out approvals just so we can go home.
Okay. Well, we had Dobies also, guys.
It's a
Guys,
really embarrassing
guys,
application.
listen up. We had Dobies first, and then we had Holly and Lamb that we carried down. Where are we getting Burns from?
It was on consent.
Oh, yeah, okay. That's the first one we gotta bring down. Okay, so Burns from consent is going next. That's number 5 from consent. Burns, okay. Representing the applicant.
Matthew Checker.
Okay.
24 Northampton Avenue, an application to revise previous COA 60395, revising fenestration, adding a porch on the south and west, and adding a window well on the north.
Yep, go.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. So this is relatively simple. Previously, we had the mudroom entrance was on the side of the building, which was west, and what prompted this was the amount of shingle space between the eave line and the first floor, and we thought that by moving the door around to the front south elevation was more appropriate, drop the scale of the building down more appropriately.
Evan, you didn't sign this. Diane?
The other change is we previously had a single French door approved, and we're applying for the double. And the primary reason is that it just looks strange with the single. Felt a little under-fenestrated, and there's predominance of double French doors in the gable, on the gable, second floor gable. Next door, immediately next door, a couple doors down. It's actually pretty prominent throughout. In some cases, you've got triple. And that's it, Madam Chairwoman.
David, I did talk to the one who wanted a single door, and she's fine with the double door for those reasons. She can't be here. She's the one who forced that.
I'm in favor of everything on this application with the exception of the double French doors over the front door. The combination of the French doors and the front door I don't think is working at all. I think that the previous approval of the single door and the double hungs either side is much more appropriate. This also widens the porch by a couple of feet too, right there, although it's not public.
I don't think so.
I do.
Oh, I see the windows. It goes to the outside of the windows.
Yeah, you can see that the relationship of the double hung window to the rake. We're now within about 4 or 5 inches of the rake, whereas before you were maybe 20 inches away. So we're picking up probably 2.5 feet on the end of that front porch.
Diane, do you have an issue with the double doors? I don't.
Yeah.
Abby,
Because single.
motion to approve the application as submitted to include everything except...
Hold on, he had a comment. What?
Would it be helpful if we reduced the width of the French doors to make them narrower?
No.
No, that's going to get weird.
Can
I think they
But I
should be
tell you,
the same width as the front door.
The ones, to the right of it and to the left of it have the doubles that we approved not too long ago.
It's the one thing.
And the single, I went out there, the single on this structure looks
Looks
really weird. It does.
Just looks under-fenestrated.
It looks under-fenestrated and it draws your eye right to it, in fact.
I've heard a comment that a door the width of the front door below would be okay, because the front, looks like the French door that was approved to be the width of the windows, and that would make that door wider and a little bit more prominent.
Well, the deck's got to get wider.
Madam Chairwoman,
Because that looks ridiculous. It looks like you've got a little baby tubby carrying a bunch of glass. What?
I was going to say, can I come up with an alternative? I mean,
Can we go out and look at it as long as it's under
Put it
I
on
would
the
absolutely
view
go
list.
and look at it.
I'll make a motion to
Jerry has made a motion to put it on the view list, bring the pictures in.
Okay.
All in favor of that?
Thank you.
Okay, so Burns is going to view, I gotta remember that. Okay, and then we're going back down to somebody. Forced. That was on, previously on the automatic view. So it's number 12, Forced. James, did you give us the files? So you can go? It would be Forced, Dobies,
Yeah.
and Holly Lamb. Which should be in the first or second box of new business.
It's got the red strip on it. The red binder on it, James.
And I'll just bring them over, along with a little recording.
Well, I'm leaving this all here because I can't wheel this across.
Do you need to think?
Dobies, you said?
Yep, Dobies. The two for Holly and Lamb.
For the 24 Pilgrim?
Yeah.
Yep.
And we just need Horst, and that's it. And I'll just put them back in the box.
What about Seven Pond? 18 East Tristram?
He is 30 Long Pond Drive is Horst.
No, I'm asking, those are two that were left as well.
Which ones?
Seven Pond Road, that's William Yost, other one?
That's
No, that went to Tuesday.
Tuesday.
We already
okay.
voted that over.
And then 18 East Tristram, Steinberg.
That we did too.
18 East Tristrams. What do we do with that? Well, that'll have to go over. Oh, that's farm. No? So 18 East Tristrams, we'll just put that over, James.
Okay. Now I'm looking for
30 Long Pond Drive. That was in the new automatic view box. That's gotta go over. Do you want me to look for it? What?
Let's go. I truly do.
I think we can carry on. Her ride is back there on their electronics.
Okay. Can you help with anything, Diane?
No. I'm coming.
She's coming.
If you hold the chair, I think I can get up. I got the chair.
She's got the chair. Both of you have breaks.
Oh, maybe I can.
Jamie. So how did you get such a wonderful week for vacation?
Oh, it's not vacation, I just only work Wednesday a week.
What day?
I guess I'm missing something.
Usually
here.
Mondays,
Are
but
we?
this Monday was a holiday.
Well, under
I thought you had more.
you.
During Christmas, I
I
did.
see it is here. Okay, I got it.
Probably will when you get warmer, when all the people come back down there too. The place becomes pretty active and starting in
New
May.
business going to automatic views. We're going to
Please
look at
don't mount.
number 12, Forced.
You get a chance, go up to Boone and Blown Rock.
And then we're going to look at under business.
Because my family was in Limbo, which is up the hill. Straight up towards grandfather. They were on grandfather. Until they died. I still have a lot of friends up there.
I'll see you Tuesday.
See you Tuesday. I used to ride Blown Rock all the
Crazy
time.
time for Asheville is October, when school, because there's so many colleges.
And then the trees change color and,
Yeah.
yeah. Do you need some help over there?
I'm not sure what I did with it. We've gone all over the place now.
Which one do you have out so far?
I have everything but the one we need right now.
It has a red binder on it.
What do you mean a red binder?
The strip that holds the sheets together, it's red. The border, the edge,
Okay.
the thing you staple through.
Did I cover it?
Nice, happy
Should be it's manila. It's not a bright yellow. We put the nag in it.
All right, so I got them all right here, James?
Yeah.
And these burns go back, I guess? Yeah. Okay. Burns. And I'll bring the little recording thing over there. That burns.
Okay.
You can shut the TV off. Just shut it off.
Okay.
Thank you, James.
Thank you.